Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS T-Drift.
Contact, nice, zero in orbit. The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
That's right, we are broadcasting once again all the way from the Deep South, down here in Central Arkansas from Forest Tower Studios. I'm Joe Roop, and this is Lighting the Void. Voices for Verity in this crazy realm of polarity. It is Wednesday night, August the 29th, and the moon is waning on into midnight. We got to go through this visualization before we start this show. So fire up your chakras, sync both hemispheres of your brain together, and shoot your magical beam of light through your third eye tonight with us as we peer into the void on our search for truth. Now, the call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. Once, if we do, open the phones up. And we're live on several places. The website is lightingthevoid.com. The syndicates, TuneIn, Spreaker, iTunes Radio, Radio Guide FM, Radio Garden, and more. TalkStream Live, the Paranormal Radio app. And that call to listen line number is 701-719-3971. I know I say that number a lot, but more people are using it. I guess so you don't have to use your data. Tonight, we're going to discuss practical magic in the real world with the one and only, the Hollywood Warlock. This guy's got several names, but you probably know him as Uncle Birch if you're into magic at all. Thank you. All of you have donated to the show. Thank you for your support. The Amazon portal, the t-shirt buying. We got a couple more donations today. I really do appreciate that stuff. You have no idea. Thank you so much. And we're getting close to 1,500 subscribers on the YouTube archive, so that's a big... I mean, I'm not a big YouTube guy, but that's kind of a big deal, so I just can't... I don't know. Wow. Thank you. This show is brought to you by Audible. You can get your free trial at audibletrial.com/LTV radio, or you can use the Amazon portal or grab a t-shirt. We already talked about that stuff. Thank you for following on social media. Tomorrow night, I'm going to announce all those new followers so you get your shout-outs. You can email me during the show at contact@lightingthevoid.com. You can also check one of the two chat rooms on Spreaker or on the network chat room. You just go to thefringe.fm or lightingthevoid.com and click where it says chat. And then you can sign up for the monthly newsletter, which is I just kind of release those whenever. When something's on my mind, I try to send out something cool to everybody for doing that. You get a free, basic astrology book. I think I need to update that free thing there, but... yeah, it's just a cool little thing to do every now and then, and it's totally free. All right? I want to thank my team, Eric Markham, Jeremy Scott, and all those insiders who help me every day so much on the network. And don't forget, if you tweet anything, just try to remember to use that hashtag LTV Radio. Now, let's bring on our guest, Uncle Birch. Now, Uncle Birch is a modern-day magician and instructor on Wicca and spirituality, magic, protection, the tarot, many things. He has been mentioned several times on Frater Xavier's channel, as we've talked about on this show. He's a great teacher, and a lot of people have said so. And from what I see, I agree. He also has his own radio show on Spreaker called Widdershins. That's WIDDERSHINS. You could search that. We'll be putting the links in there after the show, too. But his knowledge on magic, the tarot, Wicca, chaos magic, protection, I mean... it's one of the best out there, and we've discussed it in such a beginner fashion on this show. We don't discuss it like we're experts on this show, but we try to get people on that have been doing this stuff their whole life. And so I wanted to talk with somebody tonight about that. Real magic in the real world. Real quick, the links, though. He's really famous for his store, which he stays really busy, and that's at the sacredgrovestore.com. He also has an awesome school on magic and Wicca and more at gumroad.com/witch school, and school is spelled SKEWL. He has his own show on Spreaker, like I was just telling you, and his YouTube channel, which I think was there before all of this, and that's Freakfield1309. Man, it's really cool to talk to you. I've been listening to you for a while, Uncle Birch. It's cool to have you on the show. In the heart of the city, I can hear the traffic and everything, and you're just doing your thing. Thank you for spending time with us, man.
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, this is where I tend to do things. We're up in the Widdershins Towers, as we call it, in the heart of Hollywood, overlooking the Capitol Records building, downtown Hollywood. I could probably hit Trump's star with a brick from here.
Really?
I figured out the trajectory. It's all about a block away.
Well, I do want to start this thing and jump it right off here, and because this is what I've been getting, right? Well, if you know all this stuff about magic, Joe, how come you're not super rich and super famous? How come all these magicians, right, aren't super rich and famous and have every little thing they want? And all I can do is respond and say, well, how do you know what they want? But I don't. They're like, yeah, that's kind of a sellout answer. And I'm like, well, whatever, right? I mean, how do you know they're not getting what they want? But it is a tough question. Right?
Well, hey, some of them are getting what they want. A friend of mine, Christian Dave, man, he's doing fabulously well. Frater Xavier, he's doing really well too. Our YouTube channels and Gumroad, it's an entire economy that exists in cyberspace, in another world. And in this day and age, people are making their living in the spirit world. It just happened to work out for me. I've always been driven this way. Everything since I was like 9 years old, everything was trying to figure out magic and the secrets of the universe and witchcraft and spell work. And it's the thing that moves me, the thing that drives me. And Mom said there was no future in it. She changed her mind in later years because that's what I've been doing at least 20 years now. Full-time witch. That's my job. Had a brick and mortar for about 15 years. Decided that wasn't financially feasible to have a brick and mortar in this day and age. All the power in the world, the people do it, but I make my living on the internet. I teach on the internet. I'm all over social media, and things are good.
Yeah, I can tell they're doing pretty good for you, man. And it's, I know you got so many orders on that store that you had to shut her down for a little bit. And I was like, that's when you know you're doing something good. When you get so many orders, you got to stop everything and go, wait a minute, we got to catch up on this stuff,
That and I'm a very outspoken witch, and I piss a lot of people off. I do attract haters, and I got to say, I got hacked. I had several of my systems got hacked.
Oh, okay.
Luckily, the one that was separate was
people's credit card information, so that was never vulnerable. But I did get hacked, and set me back about a month or two. I had to revamp my entire system. I had of course, there's plenty of witches out there that are hackers. The computer industry was dominated by pagans early on, and so I had some friends help me implement some security in my new system, so that'll never happen again.
Well, you've been in this since forever, and it looks like I started out as a Christian, and I got into the esoteric, and so you can tell why that right there is probably why ceremonial magic attracted me more than anything,
Yeah.
But when I met the first Wiccans, and I would just say pagans for the first time, man, I had the time of my life. It was like a whole new world for me, because I'm down here in the podunk place of Arkansas, and then I go out west and meet all these witches and Wiccans and warlocks, and I got to be honest with you. At first, I was a little strange. It felt strange. I wasn't used to that energy of freedom. But when I got used to it, it was a whole nother type of freedom. But
Yeah.
then you get into this whole psychological thing, which I don't think a lot of people understand, is that psychology has a lot to do with magic, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I've often framed it. It's Jung and Freud come together. Jung approached psychology from a mystical standpoint. That was his whole thing. He was trying to. One of his first projects was he was trying to reach this state that he called gnosis. That these monks that he was studying, they spent a lot of time getting their mind to this gnosis, and he was fixated on that. And some of his most important work is symbols, and he dictated that there's a set of universal symbols subconsciously triggers everybody that sees these symbols to think the same things. And then there's another set of symbols that we all operate on that are personal. They're personally derived, and they operate everything. And I believe Freud chastised Jung and told him not to release his research because it would unleash a wave of mysticism that would engulf the planet.
Yeah, he called it a black plague of occultism, is what he called it. Yeah,
black plague. But then Freud, all of his symbology was sexual, and in paganism, all of the symbology is sexual. Every stick's a penis. Every vessel is a yoni. The maypole is God's penis. And we dance around it. I always like to tell the story. My wife grew up here in Hollywood, and she went to Immaculate Heart High School, Catholic school. And so they, in recent years, we get these newsletters, and in recent years, I opened it up, and I saw these Catholic schoolgirls in their uniforms dancing around a maypole on the cover of their newsletter. So I read it, and they were celebrating Mary's Day. A day that nowhere in the Catholic Church does that happen. At least it doesn't happen on May 1st, Beltane. And it's to them, it's a celebration of women. But the symbology, the pagan symbology, is that it's the image of the penis, venerated in religions such as ours, is symbolizing the generative force in nature. It's these Catholic schoolgirls are dancing around God's penis. And I will never escape the irony that that's where we've come to a couple thousand years later.
Yeah, I mean that's what scares people off too, And it's like, well, we're talking about energy here, force and form. It's in everything, I mean, it's in us, it's in the microcosm, the macrocosm. But then I think I actually made it the other day. You made it when somebody calls you a devil worshiper for the first time. You're into that devil stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, whoa, no one's ever accused me of that before in my life. Ever.
Really?
Never. Yeah.
That just happened?
Just happened, yep.
Popped your cherry. Welcome to the club.
But I mean, like, look, I read a lot of Gnostic material and stuff, and it's like, I think people get a misunderstanding about it. I talk a lot about the subconscious because I learned this stuff from you. I learned it from Frater Xavier. I learned that the subconscious is the entryway to not only speak to spirit but tap into it. But I've also had a couple of freaky things happen where I think people don't understand that it's not all psychological. Like, I've heard this thing where, well, magic's not really dangerous, and then I've got other magicians saying, no, it's dangerous, And I'm like, well, which is it? Is it dangerous or is it not dangerous? And I'd like to ask your opinion on that, actually.
Well, it can be. It definitely can be. It depends on, your goal. Somebody once said it's like giving a child bullet press, primers, shells, and what do you call the bullet part? The projectiles, and having them make a gun. They might make the gun, and they might blow themselves up. They might shoot themselves in the head. It all depends on the user. It all depends on where you want to take it. You can have fluffy Wiccan magic, white light
pink cotton candy, or you can summon demons if that's what you want to do. It's all out there. And I want to touch on the thing you said. I spend a lot of time on the psychological and the subconscious mind, because for me, that's where the magic part of the mind resides. It's in a hidden recess of our mind, and we're trying to, find ways to trigger that. But other portions of my practice are absolutely about spirits and the dead. I'm also a Polero, in Palomayombe. So, and that's all about ancestor worship and the dead, and it's all spiritual. However, there is certain symbols that I see used in that tradition that remind me of Veves, and Veves remind me of the works of Solomon. And many have said that the works of Solomon, with regard to his sigil work, was an ancient system of psychology, and I see a lot of that in there. Back then, they were, they recognized that, that's the portion of the mind that needs to be triggered. That's the portion most humans aren't using, and instead, that portion of the mind is using those humans.
Do you think that's what scares people, though, is because once you get into it, it can be dangerous, whereas like Christianity or religion or other religions like that, there's a moral system, a moral structure where, there's this realm of punishment. Like, look, if you do these things, you're going to burn in hell, or you're going to have this karma effect, where magic is more like, well, hey, if you dish it out, you better be able to take it.
Well, all magical systems, all the spiritualities that I know of, and that's, most of the obscure ones, the occult ones, that have those morals written into them. They all have their codes, and Christianity certainly hasn't followed their codes more than anybody else, and they probably did a worse job than most of them. Great ideas. Jesus, great guy if he existed. Nothing about Christianity has anything to do with him for at least 1,000 years. But great idea, yeah. Love your neighbor. Take care of the poor, love everybody. Great. Christianity is not that. It has nothing to do with that. And definitely, you're still in America. That ain't happening here. That ain't the Christians we have here.
Right.
or at least the ones that are running the show.
Yeah, no doubt.
Evangelicals, no.
There's some good ones, but they're hiding, right? They're in the they're hiding.
They're hiding from their brother Christians. Probably, yeah. I'd be scared too. Yeah. People on my side of the fence, we like to talk a lot about the persecution of our kind by the Christians over the centuries, but I'd like to remind them that they also persecuted all the other Christians that weren't their type of Christians. It was mostly the Catholics. Every other faction of Christianity was also, burnt at the stake or hung or tortured, all that. They were called witches and heretics too. So it's not just us. It's pretty much everyone that wasn't them or their specific version of them.
Can I ask you a question? I don't know if you saw this or not, but the statue that the Church of Satan erected in Little Rock, right?
Yeah.
And they called it Baphomet, and now everybody's like, look at this symbol, it's Baphomet, and I'm like, well, where did they even get the symbol from with the kids and stuff? It doesn't look like the symbol of Baphomet to me. And now it's
absolutely Baphomet. But I don't know where they got the kids. But right. I believe it's almost an exact replica of the one in Oklahoma from a few years back, and we laughed at it then. It was, there's the Church of Satan, got a Satan statue, and they erected it, and all the occultists go, that's Baphomet. It's not Satan. Many of the old pagan gods, got lumped in with Satan, and there was no coincidence. The church specifically did that because they were trying to equate the old religion with Satan, and we
you just happen to have a bunch of horned gods, because horns symbolized man, masculinity, male, nothing else to it. But that's where they got their symbology, from Pan to Baphomet all the way down, Bacchus, fucking all of them. They took that horned imagery and incorporated it into their Satan. But I, to this day, rarely can find me a Christian that can explain to me the difference between Satan, the snake in the Garden of Eden, and Lucifer. Entirely different characters, doing entirely different things, somehow all lumped together. A lot of people that claim Christianity don't seem to spend a lot of time actually reading their book. And the people that I've found that are really knowledgeable on the Bible, witches. Because we have to defend ourselves against that shit. We have to know that shit back and forth and upside down. We probably could teach Sunday school.
Well, it's kind of like the book that I had. I had a book that we brought out the other night on the show, which was, I think it was by Raymond Buckland, just simple candle burning rituals, And
man, a classic. I probably had that when I was 13 years old or something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's full of Christian rituals you can do. And then it's got what it's called the old religion, pagan rituals you can do, but they all do the same things. And that's what kind of opened my mind. I was like, why are they calling this the old religion? And I know that may be laughable to a pagan, but to me, I was like, wait a minute, the old religion. And that's what got me reading the Gnostic texts and stuff,
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, you hit on that obscure Buckland book that nobody recalls. What I found, I grew up in the back of a witch store. I was, probably bred to do what I'm doing now. Been exposed to all kinds of magic, and I found that a lot of the magics that I was brought up in, I'm now finding, now that we're in the information age, were hoodoo. And those ideas that Buckland had with the candle magic and doing the Psalms, I see those, as far as magical traditions, the ones that I see those most in is Southern Conjure. And I don't know if that's where they came from, or they people are really up about cultural appropriation and stuff in these days. But the problem was a lot of those people, back when I was a kid, were writing books, and one of the main recipe books, the only recipe books when I was a kid growing up, were the Magical Formularies by Herman Slater. And it turned out Herman Slater did a lot of trolling around in the hoodoo communities and borrowed all kinds of ideas. Unfortunately, we didn't know that at the time. And now it's a little late to undo those things. We've been brought up with those recipes. Hoodoo, it's an American folk magic, or African-American folk magic, but it crossed the lines into witchcraft a long time ago. I grew up with High John the Conqueror root, and now, some of my friends are going to tell me, well, that's a hoodoo thing. So, well, I don't care what thing it is. I've had one in my pocket my whole fucking life, it seems, 40 years or so.
Well, you carried one in your back pocket the whole time?
Yeah, well, I often tell the story when I was 13 years old, right before I moved to Long Beach for the final time. I was behind what we call here in Southern California the Orange Curtain. The Orange Curtain is Orange County. It's where most of the it would be the red part of California or Southern California, and I lived on the other side of that line, and I was a punk. 1979, 80, that kind of thing. A huge problem, was the punk rockers, and the police needed to figure out some way to deal with the punk rockers, and they came up with these laws. And these laws came to be the same laws that they later would use on the Crips and the Bloods. If you looked a certain way, like a punk rocker, they could stop you on the street, search you, photograph you, put you in a file. So I'm walking down the street, Huntington Beach, California, with a bunch of punks. decked out to the gills like we did back then. We called it getting verbs. We would walk down the street and get verbs from passing cars. Verbs are action words, as you might know. Words to start a fight. Then we go fight people. So walking down the street, cops stop us, put us against the wall, frisk us, take our picture. Reaches into my pocket and grabs a bottle of brownish, orangish powder and sniffs it. He thinks it's drugs. And he goes, "What's this, pal?" I go, that's kind of hard to explain. He goes, "Well, you better start explaining." I said, "All right, well, that's High John the Conqueror powder." He goes, "Oh, really? Really? Well, what's that for?" I said, "Well, it's to protect me from evil spirits." And he goes, "Oh, really? Well, how's that working, pal?" I said, "Well, not too good. You're still here."
Right.
That was my first night in the holding cell. I had to sit there and wait for my mom to come pick me up.
So that was your first experience as being, I guess, someone being, I don't know, just mean to you because you were different. That's what it sounds like to me. Somebody being a jerk to you because you weren't like everybody else.
No, I had people be mean to me for being different my whole life, but it was my first time dealing with a cop for me like that.
Right.
but I was a punk. We were, we were the first fuck the police movement, so I was rather anti-cop. Became one day. That's another story.
I think we broke the record for F-bombs on this show. I've done 186 episodes.
I already did it?
You did it like 6 times.
I was really going to try.
No, I mean, I told you, I know who you are, so it's okay with me.
You know my song, right?
Oh, God. We might have to take a break for this.
Okay, well, later.
This guy, someone says you got a cop voice. Paris said you sound like a cop.
Okay, well, let me tell that in a minute. But later, you're going to go, after you're off the air, you're going to go to the YouTube and you search Just Kiddin'.
Just Kidding.
Juskid, kiddin', not just kidding. And have a happy day.
Well,
it's a song of mine from when I was a busker. I used to sing it live on the street. It was kind of a sing-along about it being okay to use the word weapons of mass destruction and guns and shit. You can say all day long. You can say murder. You can't say in front of their children. Basically, is what the song's all about. But I went to pre-trial 4 times on that song back in my busking days. And
how many times you been locked up, man? How many times you been put in handcuffs? You think?
Oh, handcuffs?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, handcuffs. 20. Locked up? None.
Really?
None. They never got me on. But, I dropped the S off. but I'm talking about the song, have a happy day. I can't really, do that any other way. But I went to pre-trial, and every time, if they arrested me, I got my public defender, I got my jury, I pushed it my job was activism for, a good 10 to 15 years. I had nothing else to do but show up to court. That was my job. So I'd show up to court, ask for everything, and when the prosecutor heard that, oh no, he's going to push for a jury to hear him sing this song, have a happy day before you convict him, drop the charges every time. 14 times, I think, on that song. They dropped the charges every time rather than have a jury hear what I had to say on that. So your listeners just go listen to that later. I don't expect you to play that on your show.
Well, I'm sure they're all turning red right now because they've never heard language like this before on my show. But, before I did the show, I said, look, when you talk to Uncle Birch, you're going to have to deal with Uncle Birch. You're not going to deal with somebody different. So let's just talk to Uncle Birch.
No.
You know what I mean? Let's do that. And then I'm all about it, to be honest with you.
So let me tell you the other one, since your listeners asked. Really, quickest version of the story I can tell. A long, long time ago, I was working as a busboy. I was really young, 14 years old or something like that. Maybe 15, 16, I don't know, somewhere around there. And I had a friend, and he was studying witchcraft in the same place that I was, and he was in the class ahead of me. And he worked as a security guard down in the Port of Long Beach here. And he invited me to come visit him at work one day. And I came visit a guy at work one day, and he's sitting in this little booth right next to the ocean, reading a book on witchcraft, and he has a bowl, a pot, in front of him. And his job is to guard the cars of the workers that are going out to the oil islands on a boat. And he hardly ever sees the workers. I sat with this guy for like a couple hours, talking about witchcraft, smoking pot. I said, dude, this is your job? I said, how much do you get paid? It was $3 more an hour than I was getting paid. I said, can you get me a job? So he got me a job in security. I didn't end up with a cushy post like he did. I ended up in Compton. I was being shot at on a regular basis, and it wasn't until I was 18 that I could get a gun permit and actually carry a gun on the job. I had a canine unit that saved my ass many times in that job. Somehow, my years in private security, and then I did a stint through corporate security, and somehow, even though I was an anarchist, a self-avowed public anarchist my entire life, I landed a job in law enforcement. They asked me if I'd ever been a member of the Communist Party, but the anarchist thing wasn't on the question.
So you really were a cop?
I was a cop for 3 years.
Okay. Well, you nailed it, Paris. Good job.
There you go. A port cop in Long Beach. And I retained my anarchist views. I was there to help the helpless, to catch the bad guys.
Yeah.
It was hard. I wasn't enforcing laws, even as an anarchist, but I was trying to do the job the way the job was meant to be done. And I think I did. 3 years, I helped some people. And I did some really good things. I saved some lives. I stopped a few rapes.
Good.
It's a long story that I can't go into on your show, but shortly after the Rodney King episode happened, I was caught 20 miles away. It was scary times in that particular job. I disagreed with what had happened there. And come a night when my sergeant called me and several others to back him up. And when I arrived, he was beating a Hispanic man who was already in handcuffs with his nightstick. I put my hands on the nightstick. I put my hands on my gun. I stopped my sergeant. I did what the Rodney King guys should have done. Life ain't no fairy tale, people.
No, it's tough.
Do the right thing doesn't mean a goddamn thing. My sergeant did not have charges pressed against him. My watch commander was his golf buddy since the 60s. Nothing happened to the guy. And I had to return to graveyard shift in the Port of Long Beach, best place in the world to dump a body, with him as my boss.
Wow.
I kept that up until the Rodney King riots. I was badgered by my tradition to perform the big public Beltane ritual. And they badgered me into this 2 times and never did it again, because when I did it, I did the most elaborate, huge thing that I could. And I chartered a bus up to the Angeles National Forest. I rented a campground for a week to perform. It was a triple part Beltane ritual, the likes of which the world had never seen, except maybe in the mists of Avalon. I brought up 2 white horses, one for the goddess to ride in on, and since that horse was an Arab and was tweaky about not traveling with its partner, I had to just bring up the other horse. 36 active participants, musicians, costumes, huge ritual. And I cashed in my vacation time. And I'm up there in the mountains when my pager goes off. I'm a civil service or a civil defense employee, and that pager went off. And I walked over to my car, I turned on the radio, and I heard that the Rodney King riots had begun. And, pagers were really spotty back then, and especially if you were up in the mountains, it was pretty easy to just tell your boss, I never got the page. I turned off the radio, and we did our Beltane celebrations through the Los Angeles riots.
Wow.
That was my last hoorah. I left L.A. probably 2 weeks later, Santa Cruz.
You did a Beltane ritual in the L.A. riots, really?
We did. We were, several people didn't make it because of the riots, but since we had set it up for a week-long camping trip, a lot of people came up before the riots happened. And there was a point, somebody made blueberry mead in these big jugs, and we climbed up to the top of Mount Wilson, and I looked down at the plumes of smoke. And,
Eric just messaged me, by the way. He said this guy's destroying your no cursing policy. Well, look here.
Sorry.
Here's the thing. The policy is for me not to say it, and the host not to say it. That's all. I haven't said it yet, not once. Right?
Yeah.
No, he's all right. He'll be on the third hour. By the way, Eric will be here.
Oh, Eric's gonna be in there. Oh,
yeah. But he's just laughing at it because, well, I'll tell you about it during the break. But it's funny because I think this is totally funny. But I do want to talk a little bit more about your magical history and some of the stuff about that as well too. But doing the Beltane ritual during the L.A. riots, man, that's pretty intense. That was a good story. We do got to take a break, though. We're kind of late into it right now.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back, guys.
My kid to sleep during that.
Uncle Birch, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these words.
No.
To Lighting the Void Radio. From Studio 303, it's the Stranger Than Fiction News for The Fringe FM, bringing light to the stories that surround us. A bizarre condition allows a man to turn his legs 180 degrees and walk backwards. Moses Lanham, a 57-year-old man from Michigan, has become known as Mr. Plastic for his unusual ability to turn his legs, along with his knees, 180 degrees and walk backwards. You could read more of the disturbing details to this story at OddityCentral.com. And a new material developed by University of Colorado Boulder engineers can transform into complex, pre-programmed shapes via light and temperature stimuli, allowing a literal square peg to morph and fit into a round hole before fully reverting to its original form. The controllable shape-shifting material, described today in the journal Science Advances, could have a broad application for manufacturing, robotics, biomedical devices, and artificial muscles. You could read more of this interesting article at phys.org. And archaeologists in Egypt have unlocked the secrets of the mysterious ancient cursed black granite sarcophagus. The massive coffin, which was recently excavated in the city of Alexandria, was found to contain 3 skeletons and a gold sheet with the remains. The tomb dates back to about 305 BC to 30 BC. In a Facebook post Sunday, Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities explained that preliminary studies had determined the gender and age of the skeletons. One was a woman between the age of 20 and 25, and the other 2 were male, between the ages of 35 and 39, and 40 and 44. Mystery had surrounded the sarcophagus since its discovery was announced last month. The independent citing local reports said that Egyptian officials had been mocking suggestions that opening the sarcophagus would unleash a curse. You can read all the details to this story at foxnews.com. And a skunk ape is spotted in Florida. McKay City, Florida, a couple in the southeastern Manatee County claimed to have spotted a bipedal figure they believe to be a Bigfoot creature. The woman, who didn't provide a name, said she was driving with her husband near the Micaiah River when the creature showed up in June of 2018 at around 6:45 p.m. The area was flooded on account of a recent subtropical storm, Alberto. Quote, "We were at Long Creek near Wachula Road." This is what she told the BFRO. The road had been used infrequently due to the recent storms. I looked to the left and saw what appeared to be a pile of dark Spanish moss. She initially thought it was strange that a pile of soggy grass was shaped so symmetrically. That's what she claimed. She realized that there was a creature hiding and standing still. She's quoted as saying, "I couldn't speak and I couldn't process what I was seeing." The eyewitness says that when she told her husband that she had just seen a Sasquatch, he turned the car around, but the odd figure was no longer there. She described the animal as 8 feet tall, dark brown-haired, bipedal, with a pointed head, broad shoulders, and thin hips. This story was reported to cryptozoologynews.com. And that brings us nicely into this edition's Fun Fact. The word gorilla is derived from the Greek word meaning a tribe of hairy women. And that wraps it up for another edition of the Stranger Than Fiction News, right here on the Fringe FM. And remember, you can save a life. Don't drive and text.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
This is Jason Lindgren from Crow 777 Radio, and you can hear us 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday night here on the Fringe FM.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Select Joe Roop at checkout at ancientlifeoil.com. Some of you are thinking, right? After everything we've been through, you bring Uncle Birch on and you just let him go. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We're here with Uncle Birch. And we're talking real magic in the real world. And I don't want everybody to think that magic is just 100% psychological. However, I do think that that's the most important thing to it. But like I was telling you during the break, the first time I came out of my body when I was doing banishing rituals and middle pillar stuff, I was also listening to tapes, you know, and stuff like that too. But I don't think it's a coincidence. And like you told me during the break in magic, you don't really believe in coincidences. But does magic always work like that? Is it always a coincidence, or does it cause some paranormal things to happen sometimes?
Yes and yes. Before I go there, just, for some of your listeners that, they're complaining, I just wanted to caveat that my history in radio is pirate radio.
That's why I say fuck so much. Because we got to. It was kind of the point. You know,
right.
You can't say fuck the FCC on a licensed station. But all right, so the question is magic, paranormal, blah blah blah. I'm with Frater Xavier on a lot of things. I'm on the path of demystifying magic. It follows the laws of nature. It follows the laws of physics. It can be mystical too, but still, it's still following those same laws. But I think one of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about that off the air, I am not a practicing Wiccan, but I am an expert on these kind of things. I'm more of a witch these days. A lot of witches are parting ways with Wicca. Wicca was, like you described it, freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much anymore. There's a lot of regulation that goes on from too much infighting, too many rules when there really was only one rule. But the tradition I grew up in, it adopted a lot of Wicca. The core of the tradition was pre-Wicca, but since Wicca was the witchcraft of the times, they incorporated a lot of that into it. And so I don't know if it's Wiccan or I don't know if it's just the process that I went through, but I went through an initiatory process that was elementally based.
There you go.
And, you start in air, then there's fire, then there's water, then there's earth. And when you get full circle, you're a high priest. It took a long time. It was probably written before the Wicca, where you can become a high priestess after a year and a day. After a year and a day in my tradition, you were a first degree initiate. Then you had to go teacher. Then you had to go priest. Then you had to go high priest. And by the time you got to high priest, you actually knew something. Nobody knows anything after a year and a day. Wicca became too simple as well. Too simple to get to the mysteries. You don't get to any mysteries. So going through that process, I experienced nature in all her glory and fury when I was going through my air initiation. Communications destroyed portions of my life that were unnecessary. When I was going through my fire initiation, a shack I was living in the mountains of Santa Cruz caught on fire, burning all of my unnecessary possessions. Shortly after that, there was a flood, and it wiped out the rest of the possessions. And the ones that were finally left over, the mudslide after the flood and the fire on the hillside. So, irony is the consistent power in the universe. And
you tell me about it. I'm experiencing it right now.
Yeah, but back when when I was talking about all the cop stuff and all that thing that was happening, that was an initiation cycle that I was going through back then too. I had become a high priest in my tradition, and I had taken on certain oaths. And my oaths were that when my goddess called, I would go. Where she said, when she said, do what she said. Roughly, words to that effect. When the time came and I got my calling, I resisted. I told her, well, I'm married. I just put my wife through nursing school. She's got a career, as a nurse here. And my goddess looked at me. She's kind of hardcore. She's a Hecate, by the way. She said, oh, honey, is that standing in your way? Blew it up, destroyed it, tore it apart. I told her, and this was before the thing happened with my sergeant and all that stuff. I told her, well, God, I got this career. I landed this job, in law enforcement. I'm a cop. Might want to, work that job for a while. I said, oh, is that standing in your way too? Boom, blew that thing up.
So it's true then. When you go through initiation, you go through hell a little bit.
Yeah, and it all ties in together. All the stuff that I went through and the thing that I did, stopping my sergeant from beating the guy. It's just all beautifully orchestrated in such an intelligent manner that somebody came up with it. It's all there's an irony in the universe. And so I learned, and I've always cautioned my students to this day, so don't make her say it a third time. I can't imagine what she would have done to me if I had made her repeat herself one more time. I left, I went to Santa Cruz, started another witch life, left an entire craft community behind when I finally left there. That's what she wanted me to do. That's what I was supposed to do. That's what I had agreed to do. So don't go around making oaths to deities, to spirits, unless you're going to keep them. And some of those, they'll make you.
So it's kind of like consent and contract, that whole law of, we've talked about on this show, like marriage. I think the way they've set marriage up in this society is like almost like black magic, You're writing your name down on a business contract, and that person, they puts this thing in their mind that they no longer have free will to love you, that they're stuck with you. And we wonder why the divorce rate gets so high, But yeah, I'm glad you said that, because there's, in your opinion, a lot more people, at least from what I see, are practicing and I would say tampering and magic without really going down, understanding initiation in itself. Because I can tell you right now, mine's taken probably a lot longer, I feel like, and it is hell. And I'd hate to think that I'm going through all this for nothing, because I've had a magician say, well, you don't really need to do all that. That's just nonsense,
Well, I am a witch, but the tradition that I grew up in, it's kind of an umbrella organization. In there, I learned the OTO. Mm-hmm. I learned Strega, Italian witchcraft. I learned many magics under that umbrella. As you were saying that, I recalled that leading up to the high priestess or the high priest ritual was I think a month of the greater ritual of the pentagram. Had to do that every day. I've never used that really since then, but had to do that every day for a month, and that's when the chaos ensued. But that's part of what it was meant to do at that particular stage of my life.
You do a lot of astral traveling, Uncle Birch? You travel in the astral realms at all, or you?
I do, but kind of where I was going with the the Frater Xavier thing, demystifying mysticism. For me, it's at least 40 years of knowing who I am and knowing that other people were practicing what I thought I made up since I was like 9 years old. So it's just normal for me. I communicate with spirits the same way I communicate with people. They walk in my life the same way that people walk in my life. It's not. I don't have to do a ritual spell. It's just it's just kind of life for me now. It's just kind of we call it the twisted path, staggering between worlds. In one world, one foot in the spirit world, one foot in this world, and you do that long enough, it just becomes normal. It's not that really hard to deal with. It's more hard to deal with,
Well, yeah, because it does seem to me there's so much to learn. When I started this, I was like, oh, God, I got to learn astrology. I got to learn the tarot. According to the Golden Dawn, I got to learn this Hebrew language. I got to learn all of this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this in my entire lifetime. So that's why I talked to Gordon White and other chaos magicians, too, because I was like, well, this looks easier, right? Is it easier to be a chaos magician? That's a real question for me because I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's easier. I mean, chaos magic knows no limits. That's the beauty of chaos magic. It incorporates, science and science fiction and reality and fantasy. All of it can be in the big pile that we call chaos magic. I found it fascinating in my life. Everything I look at, I think, in a witchcraft perspective. It doesn't matter, what my wife was when she was studying Chinese medicine. It looked like witchcraft to me. I was thinking, how can I use these needles in the skin to manipulate chi in a way to better achieve better witchcraft? Everything I think of, I think of that way. God damn, I don't know where I was going to go with that.
You ever cursed somebody before? That's out of a blue question, but have you ever? It does make you. That's what people are afraid of, right? Like this guy, Uncle Birch. He's a powerful warlock, right? And I pissed him off. Let's say I met you and I bumped into you and I was like, gave you the finger and you're like, all right, and you pull your doll. I'm thinking, if I'm just a normal dude, that this guy's pulling his puppet doll out and he's stabbing it with needles and he's thinking about me. And I think that's what scares people because they think a lot of people are like that. And I don't think everybody, all the magicians I've met are pretty easy-minded. They're not, they're kind of laid back.
Well, let me tell you. I'm married to a woman from Russia, a Leo. I've been called some names. I got a thick skin. You'd have to work harder to piss me off. But most of my life, I went along with the Wiccan ways. I was a cop that harmed none. I wrestled people. I didn't hit people. I always got them into the handcuffs through some other way. I never struck a person. I was not a violent person, even in my punk rock day. Okay, I kicked several people, but I never punched anybody.
What about the taser? Did you do the whole be still and just kept pulling the trigger thing?
Yeah, we didn't have those yet. Stun guns were kind of new. The taser was not really used yet. But I had a kid. I told you before, I got a daughter. She's 21. I got a son now. He's 7. But that was my first time down the rabbit hole, and I always thought myself a non-violent person. But I was pushing my daughter in a stroller across the crosswalk, and this woman didn't stop fast enough and kind of squealed her tires. And in my mind, I had leapt through this woman's window. I had reached down her Gulliver and was pulling out her entrails and throwing them on the street, lighting them on fire, and dancing upon them. In a flash, in my mind, I said, whoa, damn, you can be violent, can't you? Well, yeah, there's this thing programmed into us to protect the young. That's how they motivate us to go to wars. That's how they motivate all kinds of terrible things that they make us do in society. They say, we're going to go protect the children. But I learned that day, it's like, wow, I do have a violent streak. So, yeah, there have been a few that have put my children in jeopardy. I have absolutely hexed. Absolutely hexed. I don't even blink an eye. Even back, I was a very public, very outspoken witch in Santa Cruz, and I had an enemy shop down the street, and it was clear that they were my enemies. If you attacked my shop, if you attacked my money, you are trying to take food out of my child's mouth. You die. Straight up. It's like
a real death, like you wish real death?
It becomes a broader spectrum. It's like, okay. For those of you listeners that plan ahead, I'll be at HexFest this next year. I think it's August 10th and something. I'm doing a 3-part workshop on magical warfare because nobody will do that. I've got those. I've got spirit. I call it spiritual warfare on my Gumroad site. But I've got several really hardcore videos teaching that, because nobody's going to teach that. I'll absolutely go there. That's why I don't call myself Wiccan, or one of the reasons that I don't call myself Wiccan. I can't go along with that. This harm none philosophy they have, sounds all great, unless you actually study history. Who used these ideas? Gandhi and Martin Luther King, both were assassinated. How did that work out?
Yeah, that is kind of tricky when you think about it.
Where are those nonviolent movements now? They don't exist. They lost. It's a shame. They should have won. In a perfect world, they should have won. But that's not what happened. They both died. Pacifists. I'm not a pacifist. The Wiccan main philosophy is a philosophy of pacifism, and I'm not there. I'm not going out like that.
Well, listen, you can say the F word all you want, man. Just don't. I don't want you mad at me. I love you, man.
No. Like I said, I got a thick skin. You got to try. Anybody that ever made it on my enemies list tried hard, and they probably got 2 or 3 chances. I probably forgave them 3 times. I probably shouldn't do that, but I'm way too nice a guy. And probably my wife woke me up one day. I was letting shit roll off, and one day she grabbed me by my shoulder and she said, if those people aren't your, or if that shop, the other shop, isn't your enemy, why does everybody that becomes your enemy go there? And kind of an awakening moment. It's like, oh yeah, I do have enemies. Of course I do. I work really hard to get them. But some of the classes that I teach on Gumroad, they teach you why that's a good thing. You can, one in specific, feeding on your enemies, is how to convert that energy that people send at you and use that energy to do your magic. You don't have to do shit.
See, I learned a little bit of that.
Convert that magic.
That's cool stuff, though. So I think. Do you have your entire system there? Like if somebody wanted to learn under you and everything you know, do you think you've got it all pretty much there at that school, or are you still adding programs to it?
Oh, I'm always adding, but I do. For years now, I had a correspondence course that I did through YouTube, and I instead of doing it that way, now I have it uploaded to Gumroad. You can download it in 2 halves. There's the intro course and the advanced course. It used to be something that each course took a year and a day to go through, but we're not in that world anymore. People aren't going to take a year and a day, and I recognize we're in the digital age, and people want to download it and have it all the time, and so I did it that way. But not everything yet. I still have more on the spiritual warfare to do, but my next project coming out probably in the next week or so, the first episode, Witchcraft Without Wicca.
Okay.
It's taking Wicca out of the equation. It's been the dominant force. It's the name of the religion. Any witch, if they have to go to court and defend their religious rights, becomes a Wiccan. Because the Wiccans have the religious rights. We don't really have those. But other than that, there's a huge parting of the ways that's more and more and more and more happening. The difference between Wiccan and witch. And a lot of witches don't even have a religion. It's a spirituality for them. And Wicca's a religion specifically.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure it, because like I told you, I'm a beginner at learning this stuff, so I'm taking it as slow as I can here. But I got to tell you, the thing that scared me the most, I was listening to another radio show, and this guy come on, said he was a devil worshiper. He sounded legit. He sounded like a real devil worshiper type. But he also talked about on there that he knew a woman in India that was so powerful in her magic that could take down airplanes. I don't know.
What I would do.
Does that sound possible to you?
To know that trick. I don't know.
That's.
If you focused enough energy, you can scientifically track, if a person focuses on something, and focuses their mind, we can even get one of those little, those things in the light bulb looking thing that spins around. We can make one of those move by focusing our gaze. We can see that. It can happen. So I don't know, an intense enough gaze
to take down a plane. Yeah, that really freaked me out. Could
maybe malfunction. I don't know, but people come up with all kinds of shit. And that's the problem with people of my ilk throughout history, is we can be blamed for anything. If the harvest doesn't come through, if the milk happens to curdle, if there's a storm.
Had to be the witch.
Historically, blame the witch.
Yeah.
I went through that in high school. I fostered my scary look. I was what I call OG, original goth. Before there was goth, I was goth. Black eyeliner, pale skin, dark clothes, walking around. I carried back in my day the book of Black Magic by I think it was Waits.
Arthur Edward Waite.
Yeah. It was a leather-bound book, and it was called, and it had gold leaf, and it was called The Book of Black Magic and of Pacts.
Whoa.
I carried this book down the hallways like it was my Bible, and I set it on my desk with the spine facing out. I learned that the football players and those people would fuck with me because they were scared enough. But eventually, some guy's girlfriend leaves him. One of those football players I gave a side-eyed look to, breaks his leg on the football field. And then you start to have mobs in the fucking hallway chasing the witch. So I don't advocate that to the youth growing up. It didn't work out for me. It kept them off my back for maybe about a year. But about the second year,
so you started getting blamed for everything, right?
I became blamed for anything that went wrong.
Right.
Any coincidence, anything went wrong, and it's like that's our history, I guess, right?
Well, you magicians out there, you listen to Uncle Birch. Listen, we got to take our second break here. But there is, what I'm learning here is there's consequences. Yeah, you can maybe be able to do all this stuff, but there's definitely consequences to all your actions. Good or bad. We'll be right back, guys. Don't go away.
This is Cortana from Shift Happens, telling you to pour a glass and park your ass, because you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM. Shithead.
How you doing today, guys? This is Garrett Lee.
And this is Randy Warner.
We're the hosts of Healers and Hellraisers, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
Ahoy there. Gigi here.
And I'm Cortana, and we're here to take you on a journey through all things paranormal, metaphysical, ufology, and even psychedelic on our show,
Shift Happens, live every Friday night from 7 to 9 Pacific. That's 9 to 11 Central, right here on The Fringe FM.
And remember, don't feed the Archons, feed ducks instead.
Duck up.
Live for 3 hours every Saturday night. It's a show that engages the mind, makes you think, and maybe even challenge what you think you know. Hi, I'm Jeremy Scott of Into the Paranormal, where we talk about topics that are anything but mainstream, somewhere between abnormal and paranormal. Bring an open mind and join us for Into the Paranormal, live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on The Fringe FM.
From birth, we have been conditioned to conform to what is normal, conditioned to adhere to authority, and conditioned to repeat what has been told to us as truth. I'm Ryan Gable, and here at the Secret Teachings Radio, I've interviewed hundreds of great guests and done extensive unique research into subjects that span from the paranormal and the occult to health, philosophy, and history. I personally have no affiliations or agenda, except to use objective critical thinking in my analysis of every subject discussed, to empower myself with information and hopefully allow you to do the same. If you want to join me, tune into the Secret Teachings radio broadcast, airing live Monday through Friday from midnight to 3 a.m. U.S. Pacific Standard Time on the Fringe FM. For more information, you can visit our website at www.thesecretteachings.info or email me at rdgable@yahoo.com.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Want to know what's on the Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm. Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We are here with Uncle Birch. We're talking real magic in the real world. The Hollywood Warlock. You got all kinds of nicknames, don't you? What else do they call you besides the Hollywood Warlock?
Well, definitely Uncle Birch, but I'm also the hoodoo people know me as Michael Carell, so they know my legal name now. And Feel Free. You know, back in the pirate radio days, I was Feel Free. And that was my stage name, my pirate radio name. Matter of fact, the first time I taught witchcraft remotely was over the pirate radio station in the middle of the night, at 2 in the morning.
Cool.
And I remember my somewhere out there's still archives of that particular class. It was called Witchcraft on the Air. There was one night, you know, after the show, I was walking home in a small town. You know, I smelled the fire, and I heard fire trucks going. And it wasn't until weeks later I learned that somebody that was taking my class had burned their house down. Which most witches have done, you know, or have at least had a fire that almost burned the house down. It happens when you play with fire long enough, and it teaches you to respect the elements.
Yeah, I know that Frater Xavier talked about that quite a bit, about candles. You know, never leave a candle burning. And I would run into these problems when I practiced just a few little candle burning rituals. Like, okay, this ritual is telling me to let this thing burn out, but then I can't, you know, leave it. So So I learned what types of candles to buy and how to set stuff up. You know, it was a little bit of a learning process. But something that's Something that's really been on my mind lately is, I watched with Grant Morrison talk about his deal with chaos magic and how he actually wanted to meet aliens because Anton LaVey and Crowley told him that they could meet these beings. And Crowley met this being, and then Grant Morrison goes into this whole thing, how he inscribed magic into his life through his comic book, The Invisibles. I would love to talk to that guy. I've been trying to get a hold of him, but I have this theory, and I'm curious on what you think of this theory, that magic is what we call magic, and you're trying to demystify it, and I love that. But what we call magic is maybe some type of language that other beings actually speak, and until we get to that level, they're not going to speak to us. And it seems like a lot of people have met gods, beings, even drawn out little gray aliens, and have met these people practicing these things. And I'm just wondering if you think that's real, because I want to meet an alien. If you tell me that that's possible, then I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, I'm open to the fact that I don't know. I'm open to possibility.
Right.
It could turn out to be aliens. All of this God stuff, all of this spirit stuff, aliens beaming down like on Star Trek was what our ancestors saw. I don't know. I do like the ancient alien shows because they always dig into these ancient histories that nobody's ever heard of. All these pagan cultures and stuff. It's interesting stuff they come up with. I'm open to the possibility. I don't know. But
you never ran into one of these beings, then? That's where I was going with that. Okay.
Not really. But I run into this in some of my other traditions. Like in Palamayambe, people say you have to speak Spanish. You have to speak Bantu. And it's like, all right, well, I don't even find myself speaking to my Inkisi that much. I think it, and it knows what I'm saying. Spirits, gods, I don't believe they recognize borders, languages, any of this crap that we like to limit ourselves with. They should be beyond that, especially for me to be looking up to them. Like, if they're better than me, they should know more language than me. They should be able to speak in my language, and they should understand it. So I disagree with a lot of my counterparts. But
I can respect
that does come up in, ceremonial magic and Enochian, and it comes up a lot. But I see too many people, even in magical traditions, trying to put gods and spirits in boxes that they can't escape from, to define them narrowly and say that the humans get to decide that they can't escape those narrow definitions. And I've always said, if you can catch it in a box, if you can limit it by a box, it's not bigger than you. It's not a god. It's not a spirit. You caught some lesser thing masquerading as a god or spirit.
Yeah, that's what Lon Milo Duquette told me. He told me the exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah, well,
I'm the only one I ever heard say that. Cool.
What he said was, if he was just talking about God, period, and we got into this whole God and the devil thing, and what he said was, look, it's the same thing. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, if God needs an opposite to blame stuff on, he's not much of a God, is he? And I was thinking, well, I never really thought of it that way, but yeah, that makes sense. Totally does. Yeah. But what I think a lot of people worry about, and especially people that just frequent YouTube and glaze their eyes over looking at all these conspiracy videos, is we get this feeling that there's a dark force using some type of magic, especially in Hollywood, behind the scenes, whether some people said it's the Theosophy people and the United Nations and all of these things. And I know you pay attention to politics real well, and this isn't a political show, but I am curious. Do you think that there's something behind the door, like a wizard behind the curtain that's doing magical things and really controlling everything?
There must be. There always has been. And I've talked about this, on my show. We definitely get political, and we look at all the sometimes the worst stuff going on in magic. You were talking about, the dangers of magic. Some of the dangers of magic that we cover on our show is other magicians. We have, traditions warring upon each other all over the place. Okay, what's the question? I want to make sure I just answered the question.
Well, I'm trying to figure out if there's an actual dark force, like what people, because you see these films, right? Magic in Hollywood, magic in politics, almost like there's some guy in a tower with runes tattooed all over him, controlling everything,
Oh, yeah.
And you look at the stuff and these dates, like you're talking about, these assassinations, the dates, times happen, the words that they use, the symbology and all of the Super Bowl thing, and all this stuff. And it does make you look it does make you think, anyways, that something is really going on. They got these MK Ultra videos where some of these celebrities just lose their mind and go off into another world, almost like they're being controlled. And I'm like, well, maybe they're just on drugs, but all of them, doing that, I don't know.
Well, we're brought up with this historical, narrative that we think of as fantasy. Arthur and Merlin working for the king. That's not really fantasy. That happened. That always happened before that. All the way back to Rome, the emperor always had court magicians, astrologers, magical people behind the scenes running the show. And to this day, I have a customer that believes he works for the CIA and is buying products to defend Trump from all the witches hexing him.
I might know this guy.
Yeah.
Is it a guy? I might know him.
Yeah, it's a guy. And whatever. People can believe whatever they want. But, there's always, people like him, what we call them, vigilantes, doing that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But historically, people in power have always had magicians of some kind working behind them. To this day in England, the Queen still has her astrologers and her psychics, probably magicians. Waits, Arthur Edward Waits, that I forget what queen he worked for, but that's why he was able to sit around and study tarot cards all day and figure out, the system that we have is because he worked for people in power. And listen, people in power, I'm totally open for that job, man. You want to hire me, be your court magician? All right.
Right on. I bet it pays good. I bet it pays really good.
That's the only good thing about
and everything. They just don't tell them who they are.
Not for the current regime, though, but for the next one, I work for you.
But I have seen what you're talking about. I mean, there's a friend of mine who doesn't believe that this guy should be binding Trump and Trump voters, doesn't believe in binding people, period. And I'm kind of with him on that. But then again, I'm not a big Trump fan either. So it's like, well, you're casting spells to bind Trump and bind all the people that vote for Trump. You're binding half the country on their choices. And it to me, it's like, I don't know if I want to get in that fight, but I do see it going on. There is some type of magical war going on that's in politics, and I've never seen it like this before.
No. Well, and I like to remind people, I think it was Gerald Gardner's project and other people, but back during World War II, they did this mass spell. All these covens gathered to do this huge spell to cast a shield around England and keep Hitler from ever being able to land there. Most people know that part of it, but, you got to study the war. Winter arrived a couple months early in Russia. And that's what really changed it. And that's what changed with Napoleon. But Hitler apparently didn't study Napoleon. And he didn't send his troops with adequate winter gear for Russia, dumbass. So it could be argued that the witches did a thing, and then Mother Nature crushed Hitler. And I've always thrown that argument out there. It's like, winter came early, that fucked everything up. Well, we're pagans, right? They're worshiping nature, right? That's who we're calling on, right?
Made me think of Game of Thrones because they're all scared of winter. Remember, or winter is coming.
Yeah, winter is coming. Brace yourselves.
No, but there was a lot of occult symbolism in that. You know what I mean? I see it in everything. I see it in the Suicide Squad. They actually had the sigil. I believe it was Saturn. Or no, they had all the planetary sigils on this lady's head. And I'm like, nobody's seeing this. These are the actual planetary sigils. Well, I'm sure people are seeing it, but it's it did make me think that some of the stuff was real, that they're putting it, because when you look at it, if I look at a sigil unaware, is it affecting me or am I activating it? How does that work?
Well, there's different kinds of sigils. I've got a video to hide a sigil in plain sight. Some sigils you put out where people are going to see them, and the sigil's designed to absorb the energy of the attention and transform it into whatever it was. I think that's the money magnet sigil. And I actually, before I moved back to LA, I had some people posting that sigil on freeway signs on the 405 freeway.
On the 405.
So people will see them. It's like, and that was the idea. Just like post the sigil everywhere you can. And, the video is probably like 5 years old, and people have been posting the sigil everywhere. Every time somebody looks at it, it becomes more powerful. So go use the money magnet sigil. And when you do so, it makes it more powerful for me, too.
So you got no lines as far as... Because I feel like I got to draw a line, and that's just my upbringing. Okay, I'll do this and that, but I won't curse anybody. Or I'll do this and that, but I won't do this, right? So this is the stuff that goes on in my head. And I think it's got something to do with, being brought up a Christian. But is it up to the magician to draw their own lines, you think?
Well, everybody's got to have their own, moral code, but, ethical, man. Ethical crosses all lines. Every tradition has their ethics written into them, but just, justice. I always look at justice. Is it just? Is it just? Because if it isn't just, and I'm going to do that thing anyways, I'll expect some backlash, maybe some backfire. If it's just that person receives what I'm sending them, I want to send it, and it's going to be received.
That makes sense. Really, that does make sense. It's just... I don't know. You were brought up in this. It was something that came to me and just opened my eyes, and it scared me. Frankly, I'm just being honest with you, Uncle Birch. It just scared me a little bit because I saw the power of it. Gordon White said that when I did a few things, they call it beginner's luck or something, where the beginner always has this stuff happen for them, and it's almost like it draws you in,
Yeah. Well, the beginners, they're not... the old magicians called it the lust for result, and you needed to be free of the lust of result. My people call that the third key, projecting, letting the spell go. You throw it, you let it go, you don't think about it. And beginners are doing a bunch of random little things all the time. They're not really that connected to those things. They're not attached to those things. And since they're experimenting, I always recommend that. Do a bunch of fucking magics in the beginning.
That way you forget about what you did before,
yeah,
right?
That's the ultimate thing, forgetting about it. And then sometimes... that's the third key of magic, is forgetting about it. But I've come upon this fourth key. There's some magics that don't manifest until you have declared that they have not manifest.
Right.
So you've given up completely, and then it's ironic. It's drastic. It busts through. There have been many times I'm just like, okay, that one didn't work. I always keep notes, and I wait about 3 months, and I go and I look at what I did and see if it worked. And it's like, oh, well, that one didn't work. Then right when I say it didn't work, fucking thing works.
I'm going to play a clip in the third hour.
Still trying to wrap around that.
Frater Xavier had a guy. I don't know if you saw this guy, this kind of chubby guy who was trying to talk to this girl. It's so hilarious. And just as soon as he announced with his mouth, that he didn't know or didn't believe it, this chick just walks right out in front of him. It was amazing, And
I think I saw that one.
Yeah, he turned white, right? And he's like, I'm freaking out, man. I can't believe that this happened. This is a good question right here from Dennis in the Spreaker chat. Said, how can Uncle Birch remain so passive considering he lives around the darker side of California? It's a good question. A really good question.
I didn't always. I was gone for 20 years. I was in Santa Cruz. Then I went and I lived in Grass Valley, the middle of nowhere, for about a year. And somehow I ended up here. I swore I'd never come back to the city when I left. But somehow living in the middle of nowhere for a year where you can't get a pizza delivered, where you got to drive 20 minutes to get a cup of coffee, really made me appreciate being in the middle of everywhere. Now I'm a bit, not too passive, but
yeah, I'm sure that sucks. Well, hey, listen, we're going to have to take our last break here with you. We only got you for about 30 more minutes. I know you got stuff to do, man. And the phone lines are open if you guys want to call in or ask any questions. The text line is open too. That's 501-777-5631. If you want to text in, be my guest. You can email as well. We'll be right back with Uncle Birch.
To Lighting the Void Radio.
Who were the real ancient Egyptians? What is it about ancient Egypt that captivates us all? The critically acclaimed series Magical Egypt is back with all new episodes. Let Chance Gardner and company take you on another adventure through Magical Egypt in the new series Magical Egypt 2. Magical Egypt 2 attempts a forensic reconstruction of the science of the ancients through a study of ancient aesthetics. Also, the best researchers and authors in the field like John Anthony West, Graham Hancock, Laird Scranton, Robert Bouval, Lon Duquette, Aaron Cheek, and more join together to explore the topics of the esoteric and the hidden messages of the ancient Egyptians. Just go to magicalegypt.com right now and put in the code word FRINGE and get 10% off any download or order, including the groundbreaking original Magical Egypt series, as well as the new episodes in Magical Egypt 2. Also, check out the great work and the companion series at magicalegypt.com. Click the banner on the Fringe FM or go to magicalegypt.com and use the code word FRINGE and get 10% off your order today while it lasts.
Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM. The Fringe FM loves hearing from you. Have a suggestion, comment, or question? We're all ears. Email talkback@thefringe.fm.
This is Rev Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Occult Arcana is a balanced and objective guide to those subjects considered a part of the nature of light and darkness. Addressed in this text is a compilation of material that will provide new perspectives and awaken latent abilities that we all possess. The content herein shall provide magical sustenance for adept and novice alike, and will help strengthen the cornerstone of mystic understanding and alchemical transmutation. If you are interested in this modern grimoire, you can find detailed information and ways to order by visiting www.thesecretteachings.info. Although esoteric and occult studies remain vast, they are rooted within a universal philosophy that is difficult, if not impossible by finite terms, to explain in words. Language places restriction and erects barriers to understandings. By this it is to be understood that there are some things man should consider far too sacred to profane with definition. For these concepts and the manner by which we live our lives, we shall take a note from the Greek philosopher Pythagoras. Quote, "Silence is better than unmeaning words." End quote. To get your autographed copy of Occult Arcana today, simply visit www.thesecretteachings.info or email The Secret Teachings at rdgable@yahoo.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Hey folks, guess what the number one phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea. We love this tea. Time after time, week after week, we love this tea. Life Change Tea gives you more energy, a beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly. The tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. The phone line is 1-800-588-0335. We're here with Uncle Birch. We're also live on the Fringe FM. Don't forget, that's a 24/7 stream. It's here for you 7 nights a week, 7 days a week, 7 nights a week. We've got some good programs on there, so make sure you check it out. Jump in the chat rooms. The Discord chat's kind of like a permanent hangout, so we're just kind of in and out of there all the time, but one thing I do want to talk about, and someone brought it up in the Spreaker chat, Uncle Birch, is that, how much is your course and what's it like to take one of your courses?
Let's see. I think I broke the intro course into two courses. It's $150 for each course, I think. I don't know. I don't remember. But well, what's it like? Well, people take the course, they email me their questions, they send in their homework.
There's homework assignments.
There's homework assignments, definitely. When people become my students, they get to bend my ear, and they often do. So you get to ask me lots of questions, and I answer questions all day anyways. But, my students, they answer those questions. And the people that complete the course and do all their homework, they can petition me for initiation. And I've gotten pretty good at doing initiations over Skype, believe it or not. It's a far cry from my ancestors, and they would not even understand it, but, we do it, we can. I got students all over the world. I've got students in a couple of countries where they still burn witches.
Oh man!
And I'm really impressed by those students. It's not that ballsy for me to do it here in Hollywood, but in India, in Africa, yeah, you can still die for that kind of shit.
That's scary, man.
Yeah.
That is scary. I remember last year I saw this one lady, and I don't know the laws very well, but I know that they buried her up to her waist or something and stoned her to death, and then it said something about witchcraft or something, and come to find out all it was a different prayer that somebody heard her reading or something. I was like, Jesus, man. I really do think sometimes we don't know how good we got it, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't come with a certain prejudice about it. I mean, look, I've lost a lot of friends just talking about it. I wouldn't call myself a Wiccan or a magician, or I'm just learning about it. And still yet, I've had people give me the cross eye. I've lost friends. I've even gotten personal messages like, well, if you're going to continue to talk about this subject, then I'm going to stop listening to your show. And I'm like, well, this show is about everything to try to find the truth. I'm sorry to hear that. But I'm not going to not talk about it because there's something real to it that I feel like the human race might actually be tapping into. Maybe we're actually evolving for once. But
well, I don't know. Hopefully I won't piss off your listeners, but a thing that I have to always put out when that argument comes up, without paganism, there would be no Christianity. Everything that you know of as Christianity was borrowed or stolen from paganism. Everything, the holidays, the traditions, everything. One of my favorites is when Christmas comes around. The birth date associated with the birth of God was chosen at the Council of Nicaea because it was the birth date associated with God all the way back to the dawn of time. It was the birth of the sun god, the birth of the Son of God. They latched Jesus's mythos onto the winter solstice, and they did it very specifically. In Ireland, they came up with this brilliant idea of converting all of the pagan gods into saints. And this went all the way through England, all the way up through Germany. They converted all of the pagan gods into saints to get the pagans to come worship them. That's where you got all your saints. That's where you got all your holidays. But Christmas, my favorite one, when Christians get together and they sing, "Deck the halls with boughs of holly." Druid shit.
Yeah.
Druid shit. It's all, 'tis the season to be jolly. The pagans were jolly. There's a legend in paganism that in the ancient Gaelic language, or a Gaelic language that was used by the Druids, the word fa meant hail and the word la meant sun. So the words falala, 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 falala were hail the sun, hail the sun, hail the sun. If you put the Christian carol back into context, deck the halls with boughs of holly being symbolic of the Holly King. The Holly King and the Oak King do battle at the winter solstice to figure out who's going to be the god for the next year. I think so. I think the Holly King wins at that point. So you got deck the halls with boughs of holly, being about the Holly King, and then if falala, falala, falala means hail the sun, hail the sun, hail the sun, it's absolutely a Druid chant. Don we now our gay apparel. The winter solstice is when the Druids changed from their green robes to their white robes. Sing the ancient Yuletide carol, which was the ancient name for the holiday. And then there's a second verse that's equally Druidic. Everything about the song is Druidic, but the Christians are singing it to this day. The Druids are laughing. I hear them laughing.
And I'm sure it is frustrating. It is to me too. Just studying it, I've kind of learned some of that stuff. Really, I started out with the philosophers like Manly P. Hall and these guys, and it blows your door. If you grow up a Christian, look, think about it, Uncle Birch, a Southern Baptist Christian from Arkansas, right?
Manly P. Hall's from here.
Is he for
right
real?
Up the hill. Right up the hill. The Philosophical Research Society, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
It's right over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have all of his books.
Well, you read this stuff.
People only know one book. But,
what book is that?
The Secret Teachings of All Ages.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got to get past that at some point, but it's a good book.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
But that brings up a good question I wanted to ask you, too. And there are some questions in the chat about your school and about your store, but Manly P. Hall warned about practicing magic quite a bit, and yet a lot of his teachings taught about the astral light and magic, and then he would go off on this tear about, you need to stay away from it. And I'm thinking, why does he keep talking about it? And he's telling people to stay away from it, when I know he's got to be tampering with it. His death was really weird. If anybody's looked into his death, by the way, it was kind of crazy. But do you think that keeping this thing secret societies, oaths, keeping it behind the doors, don't talk about it, the whole sign of silence thing, I was talking to you about that during the break, like I hesitated to talk about it. Is it a bad thing to run your mouth about magic, especially if you're trying to practice it?
No, I think the secretism, I don't know what the word is.
Right.
I think that's the problem. Historically, that's the problem. If nobody knows what you're doing, anybody can make up anything they want about what you're doing.
That makes sense. Yeah.
They can come up with all kinds of conspiracy theories and crap that you're doing because you're obscure. You're secretive, like the Masons.
Now, what kind of things do you have at your let's just start with your store, the Sacred Grove store. I've got some questions about oils and candles and stuff. They're just kind of curious as to what you have there at the store. By the way, I watched a YouTube video of him before we did the show here earlier today, and he actually delivered some of the stuff that was I'm not saying that's what he does, but it was local, and he thought, well, this guy just lives over here, I'll drop it by. Nobody does that anymore. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I've done that a few times. Got people local here, but I don't normally do that.
But do you mix your own? Do you mix your own oils and things like that, or I think that's what they're wondering.
Yes, and I do it in a very old school way. Your average oil can take like a month to brew, so people that are in a hurry, should not come to my shop. But I learned how to brew it, magical timing, in the right moon phase, in line with the astrological configurations. Back when I had a brick and mortar, I made, a gallon of oil at a time. I made like 50 Mojo bags at a time. It's like now, I make them for whoever made the order. I make them in their name. I make it, magically timed. It can take a while to get, to finish. Especially like lately, we had a Mars. Mars was retrograde for like a month.
Oh yeah.
That threw some brews off. I had to wait until Mars wasn't retrograde to brew those brews. But most of my customers that understand that they appreciate it. I think it works better. Better than getting stuff from a magical clearinghouse. I made your brew in your name, magically timed in a ritual space, and it takes longer. So. Yeah, I'm not encouraging people to order from me right now because I'm busy. I'm backlogged right now, but if you do order from me, make sure you're not in a hurry. But
takes a long time to make this stuff. It sounds like
well, a lot of times, like a month. The right mood phase and stuff can take a month. But
sometimes people will message me and tell me, they have a working plan for a specific date or a specific moon phase, and I will rush them to the front of the queue and try and get their order to them for their, the thing that they're going to do. But I always recommend to practitioners, there's certain things you're going to want to do. You're going to want protection. You're going to want curse removal. You're going to want money. You're going to want love. Probably prosperity. These kind of things. Plan ahead. Have your shit ahead. Or if you're, an old school person that makes your shit, better than buying it from somebody else, make your shit when you're strong. Make your shit when the timing is right, the moon is right, the planets are right, and then when you have to use it and you don't have that energy, your brew does. Oils hold a charge for a long time. You make your oils at the time that they're ripe, and you use them when you're not ripe. I don't know how better to say that.
So this stuff isn't just some snake oil you bought off the street. This guy's magically timing your stuff for you the best he can, and there's a lot of cool stuff there. I haven't ordered anything from it yet because I don't know that much about it, but I had some people asking about it, and the school is there too. I would say if you're interested in it, to take that. And what should they start with? Which school one, I guess, right?
Which
number
school
one?
Yeah. Depending on where you want to go, maybe you want to go spiritual warfare. Maybe you want to go tarot. There's that stuff on there too. But you also check out my YouTube channel too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of free stuff on there. Work your way up to paying for stuff. I'm not in a rush to make a bunch of money. My YouTube channel started when a 13-year-old student of mine who had taken half of my course went out on YouTube and started teaching witchcraft. And I found his channel, and I watched him. And this kid had integrated everything I taught him and translated it into his own language and was doing a great job teaching. And I just hit him up and said, hey, nice job. I can't believe you're teaching witchcraft on YouTube. And he goes, you should do that. You should teach witchcraft on YouTube. And I said, no. You can't do that. There's traditions, there's rules, blah, blah, blah. And I sounded so old when I said that the next day I made a video. And originally, it was many videos for the common spells that had come up, protection, hex removal, money, love, revenge. The common stuff that comes up in a witch store every fucking day. And the idea was, so I didn't have to answer the same question every day. I just said, here, go watch this video. Or after I told you what to do for an hour in the store and you got home and you lost your notes, I could just tell you, watch this video. And the damn thing took off, Right. It developed a life of its own. That was the original idea, but it went way farther. And now I don't know how many fucking years I am into that.
Well, another thing you can do that I've done, if you want to hang out with him, is he's got a spreaker show as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's Widdershins. You got 2 shows on there. Okay. Maybe
No, Tuesdays.
Tuesdays, sorry. It comes on Tuesdays. Sorry about that. And I think it's entertaining. It's fun. It's cool to hang out. It's cool to hear what's on your mind. And it's like a lot of practical advice as well. And I think it's really laid back and it's a lot of fun. I guess we only got a couple more minutes here with you left. I wanted to thank you for coming on the show, by the way. It's really cool of you to do.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
But for the new person that's thinking about magic, right? Like they've never touched it. They never studied it. It kind of scares them a little bit. This is what I've heard a lot. I've heard, look, if you're scared of it, you shouldn't be doing it anyways. If it's something that you're scared of, don't touch it, don't do it. Yet, the curiosity, it takes a hold of a person. So at that point, is it true if they're scared of it, just like Manly P. Hall said or whatever, you shouldn't really mess with it? I don't believe that, but I'm just curious to think what your opinion is on that.
Well, I guess it depends on the kind of person you are, I guess. I developed a time in my life when, I had to look at my fears and see what was rational fear and what was irrational fear. And I developed a philosophy of stepping towards the fear. And I think that made a lot of difference. I think fear should be something that should motivate you, not scare you away. So
that's one.
May not work out for everybody, but it worked out for me.
That's one of the first things I heard in let's just say a temple room. Fear is failure and the forerunner of failure.
Yes.
That's what I heard.
Yes.
And I'll never forget it because it's right. There's a lot of things that you're being controlled with out there. And if you want to get real specific or you want to talk, you talk about that quite a bit too. And I think that we are all kind of in a magical war for our own consciousness in a way. Would you agree?
Oh, yes.
Pretty bad out there, actually. It's pretty bad what we fall for. And there's a lot of things I would have loved to talk to you about, but I think we had a pretty cool conversation. And you guys are asked, there's a lot of people asking about your links. I'll give them out too real quick. Again, look, it's the first one is gumroad.com/witch school, and that's spelled SKEWL. The Sacred Grove store is exactly how it sounds. And then you can go on YouTube and search Freakfeel 1309. But I'll be honest with you guys. Everywhere I went, when I searched Uncle Birch, it popped up. Every one of them did. And every one of them popped up. Listen, thank you so much for spending this time with us on here. And maybe we can do it again sometime. I'd love for you to just email me and say, look, I got Frater Xavier over here. He wants to talk. That'd be awesome. But
I'll see what I can do.
But if that don't work, whatever, man. Just keep on doing your thing. And thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to go into our third hour. We're going to bring on one of our own pagans who's going to be joining us from Forest Moon Paranormal. We'll be right back. Get to it. Out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
This is Jason Lindgren from Crow 777 Radio, and you can hear us 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday night here on The Fringe FM.
This is Mary Ellen Popick of the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit. Listen on the Fringe FM every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk all things mind, body, and spirit. You'll learn things from the esoteric to modern-day health, as well as hear from incredible special guests. There will be something for everyone each week, so don't miss it. That's every Monday night, 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the Fringe FM. See you there.
Want to know what's on the Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
How you doing today, guys? This is Garrett Lee.
And this is Randy Warner.
From the Healers and Hellraisers podcast.
A podcast about people.
You're going to hear stories from the enlightening to the frightening.
Told by those who lived it.
Listen right here on the Fringe FM.
Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And on the Fringe Free-For-All, right here on the Fringe FM.
Back to Lighting the Void. I am your host, Joe Roop. We just got through speaking with Uncle Birch. Go check him out, thesacredgrovestore.com, gumroad.com/witch school. Check him out on Facebook, Spreaker. Great guy. It's fun. And now, in the third hour, we're here with our own. I could just say for a fact that I know he's pagan. I get scared, though. Should I call you a witch or a Wiccan? You're not a Wiccan, though, are you? Eric Cooper.
No, I'm a witch.
You're a witch, that's right. Is there really is a difference, though? There is. I know that's laughable for me to ask that, but it is. I guess there is a difference.
There is a difference. I mean, and you know, some get mad when you say it, but you know, all witches. How does that go? All Wiccans are witches, but not all witches are Wiccan.
I bet people are wondering, when are you going to get back on UFOs? Well, tomorrow night. But I wanted to talk to everybody that was involved with magic that I possibly could. Right? I just wanted to.
Right.
And I thought it was fitting that you come on in the third hour because you're a part of the Fringe FM. You're the only other guy I know that's really, kind of understands this stuff. I learned a lot. See, I always learned something from Uncle Birch. I learned a lot. And regardless of the F word and the record that we broke on Lighting the Void tonight, I still think I expected that. It wasn't that I came in here. I mean, he's not the kind of guy you're going to go, hey, listen, buddy, you can't curse, all right? If you got to kind of you got to kind of know what you're dealing with. And Uncle Birch is he's an old school witch, and you got to respect that. I think you got to respect that.
And some guests you just kind of cater to.
Oh, I definitely cater to that guy for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, as she was talking, I was actually taking notes on things I wanted to actually expound on.
Okay. Well, let's do it.
And you've never met haters.
I'm starting to.
Oh, my God. The haters are out there. And I think I met more haters in the Army as a pagan than I have on the outside.
In the military, they gave you a hard time, huh?
Oh, God, yeah. I could write a book. We don't have enough time to talk about all that. We really don't.
Okay.
To the point where, my Christian chaplain actually threatened the battalion I was in with an IG complaint in our name, because I ran a pagan group in Iraq. And so, again, I could write a book. I do want to say, being pagan and running a paranormal team gets interesting, because I catch hell from both pagans and non-pagans alike running the kind of team that we run. And I have to explain it in real simple terms that as a pagan, spirits, the fae, dragons, everything that you call a mythological beast is real, and we deal with them as normal. Whereas a non-pagan sees spirits as paranormal, and they're trying to prove them and whatnot and get that cool picture and that cool EVP. Well, we don't have to do that, because as pagans, that's a part of normal life. You know that. And so I have to explain it like that to pagans as well, because they don't see it as paranormal. So why do you have a paranormal team? Well, because a lot of people don't understand that. And what Forest Moon does oftentimes too is cleans up the messes that learning pagans open up. That's
what do you mean? Like
aspect we have to look.
Portals and spirits?
Okay, right. And I like Uncle Birch's analogy of the child. You give them the primer and you give them all the tools, and they either shoot their foot or blow themselves up, or they get taught the right way and put the bullet together. It's the same concept, but as they're learning, you just hand them a book, and if it's a full-scale spell book, whatever, and they're doing it the wrong way, yeah, they're going to open a portal. They're going to conjure a spirit. They're going to screw things up, and then we have to go fix them. That's kind of what FMP does too, with the pagan side.
When you fix them, like, what do you go fix? Like, I got this spirit running around in my house, and it's opening shelves and doors, or did they cause nightmares, or what are we fixing here?
Well, oftentimes it's just a matter of mediation. Some spirits, they don't know they've passed on, so you just explain to them that, well, you've passed on and you're scaring people, and, kind of come to an arrangement, or you just pass them on over. When it comes to conjuring demons or things of that nature, you go to combat, you remove them. When it comes to opening portals, you close them and seal them.
Well, what about when you see something in the dark, though? Like last night, I saw something. I saw something moving in the dark, but it wasn't like I had to turn the light on. I'm a 36-year-old man. I shouldn't be having to turn the light on, but I got this stupid, freaky feeling again that I've had before that something's right there. And then I saw something move, turn the light on, nothing's there. Is that my head, or is that a spirit?
It doesn't have. It's not necessarily a spirit. It could be a whole plethora of other things.
Maybe I'm just messed up in the head.
Not necessarily. Or did you just get done watching a scary movie?
No, sir. No, I didn't. But I did start thinking about stuff. When it gets really dark in my room, that's when I start thinking about the dumbest stuff. It doesn't make sense.
Well, that's where right, and that's where the mind can play tricks on you when you start thinking of something that freaked you out, and the mind can expound on that. And it'd be a simple matter of sending the team in to see what's going on, and if nothing's there, then nothing's there. Then you just sage it.
So what do you have to do something every single day of your life as a witch? Like, do you got to wake up and you do some ritual every day, or you just act on certain things? Like, I'm just curious the lifestyle of a witch.
Okay, the lifestyle as a witch. Well, we honor the Sabbaths, and yeah, we haven't talked in a while. So Forest Moon Grove is our pagan church, and it's reactivating. And we are actually going to be doing Sabbath celebrations.
You have one of these statues like they got in Little Rock that they put down here? One of those
no, we don't have no statues. There's no reason to have
I'm just messing with you, man.
Now, my mate's got an altar, and for the most part, it's got a lot of herbs on it, a lot of stones on it. And you take care of your altar. But day-to-day living, no, there's not. I mean, some of them get kind of drastic with it, and they do something ritualistic every day. And that's fine. It's to each their own kind of lifestyle. But you don't always have to do something every day. You recognize the Sabbaths, and those are the seasonal turnings, essentially. And then, of course, there's some special Sabbaths that, depending on what tradition you follow, whether you're Wiccan or just a witch, or a druid, or a shaman, or a satru, which is the Norse path.
See, that's where I get lost. Are you still with me? I heard a pop. Did something drop? No, you're still there. See, that's where I get lost. I get lost with because I'm used to worshiping one God, or I understand it's just this one God. And Uncle Birch was talking about Hecate, which I believe is an Egyptian god. I believe, and it's like, do you get to pick the god? There's this group of gods you got, and you get to pick them, or how does all that work?
It depends. Okay, so often no, that can go. Sometimes your deity will come to you. You do it through meditation. For example, Morrigan came to me before I went to Iraq.
Who?
Was she with me in Somalia? Morrigan. She is the Celtic goddess of war, death, and rebirth.
Okay, so that's your god. You worship her for the rest of your life, or?
Yeah, well, she's always with you.
Okay.
She's always with her followers. So
Hecate, okay.
Okay. So it depends on which, so some pagans, they follow their family heredity. There we go. So if they're Scottish, they're Irish, they'll tend to follow, more Celtic or Irish deities. Some people are drawn to the Egyptian culture. Sometimes it has to do with the past life. Some people will study the deities, and whichever one they're drawn to, and then they'll start meditating on that deity, and if they're meant to work with that deity, then that deity will come to them. So I work with Morrigan. I work with Keranos. Keranos is also known as the Green Man. He's the god of the forest, of the hunt, of the harvest. So there's paganism in general is polytheistic. But not always. Not all pagans even have a deity. Some of them work with energy. Some of them work with the Fae. It's an individual thing. Then you have the Dianic Wiccans, which only follow the goddess. So you have Odinists. They only follow Odin, so they only follow a god.
So let's say I'm drawn to Egyptian gods. Because you remember when I told you when I went out to the pyramids, even in Las Vegas, which is kind of crazy because it doesn't even, I guess, correspond to the real stuff is what I've heard. But when I was around all the Egyptian stuff, I felt something powerful. I mean, I did. I felt around the statues and everything. I'm really drawn into the Egyptian things. So does that mean that maybe if I went down this path, maybe an Egyptian god like Thoth or something would be... I mean, do you really get to choose them? But you said they choose you, right?
They, for the most part, yes, they do. They'll come to you in a dream state, or they'll come to you in a meditation. But I'm telling you right now, the energy of Egypt in general is very awe-inspiring, for one. Just like I was in Tel Afar, Iraq, 0506, and you can see the lights of Syria. Now, Syria, before there were borders between Iraq and Syria, think of ancient Sumeria.
All right, I'm thinking of it.
I mean, you're talking the ancient goddess worshippers of that time, from hundreds of years ago, and the energy of that place, it just took your breath away. Does that mean I need to follow those deities? No, not necessarily. Now, you also have...
But I'm attracted to it. I'm not really attracted to Celtic things or I guess what you're talking about. Maybe a little bit of Greek, but you're just saying that that's the nature of it. That's why I'm attracted to it, because they're extremely awe-inspiring or powerful. I mean, we had John Anthony West on the show. Robert Schoch's been on the show. They tell you, I mean, they both have told us just how it changed their life when they went to Egypt and went to the pyramids. And, I mean, I got to do that.
And I would go with that. I would start studying Egyptian history. I would start studying Egyptian deities and see where it goes from there.
Well, that makes sense. And so you got a church now, and you also got an emergency. This is something that we don't stress enough. A Paris Moon. That sounds kind of Hollywood, right? Forest Moon Paranormal is an emergency response paranormal group where somebody screws something up. It's not really like you see on TV. You guys go out and you clean the place up, you help everybody out, and you keep it all one-on-one confidential, right? So that's kind of neat. So I got these things that move around out of the corner of my eye all the time, and I get touched on my shoulder. Did people ever tell you that they got touched? Like you feel,
quite often, yeah, or they get their hair moved, or they feel a hand on their shoulder.
Is that something I should call you about? Is that an emergency? Like I should say, hey, I'm being touched a lot down here. Can you come get rid of this for me?
No, if you feel scared by it, sure, because you go by the energy of it. Not all spirits are, some of them are protective. Some of them they just want you to acknowledge them. Now, when you start getting scratched or pushed or things of that nature, we can come check it out. We have no problem doing that. And find out who it is, what they're doing, and oftentimes they just want acknowledgement. You say, "Hey, how you doing? Who are you? Why are you here?" But that'd be my first thing. If it being touched is striking fear in you, then yeah. Or
well, it absolutely does sometimes. I've sat right here in this chair and felt somebody poke me in the back, like a finger. Turn around and there's nothing there.
Okay.
It's like, well, that's nerves. So that's what I hear. That's nerves. Or you see something move out of the corner of your eye and you're thinking, well, that's just your mind playing tricks on you. But after a while, you start to go, no, this is something more. And then we would call you.
Okay.
Or a magician, or a witch.
Well, I'm actually talking to the team right now.
Well, I don't want anybody coming. I don't want you guys flying here in your astral realm around my pad. Don't need you here. This is a hideout. Like I don't want anybody knowing where I live. Dave Cruz knows where I live, but you guys can do that. You say you can travel in the astral realm to other people's homes.
Yep, do it daily.
Now, that scares me a little bit more, to be honest with you, than being touched. I mean, what if I'm in my living room, I'm walking around naked or something, or I don't know, I'm headbanging because I'm doing the stuff I do alone. Can you see that in the astral world?
Yeah, but we don't go to any location unless we're asked to come in. And usually I'm talking to the client when the team's coming in.
So, don't be sending your people here. I'm going to call up Uncle Birch and ask him how I can put up an astral fence. They have those, don't they? Don't they have barriers or astral fences? I've heard about
it's essentially a shield.
Okay. All right. This is the stuff that really gets me, is like the, I'm not trying to put more mystical stuff in mysticism, but the astral realm seems pretty real. And as much as I would love to travel with you guys around planets and all of these realms and come back and talk about it, I don't want you here while I'm brushing my teeth, if that makes any sense.
And they won't be. Like I said, we only go when clients contact us and need help now.
So you understand this from a different level than most people. When you watch these paranormal shows and they get scratched or they hear EVPs. What is that? Is that somebody just trapped in the other realm, or is that all in their head? I'm not boring you, am I? I hear you sighing over there.
No, not at all. I just get annoyed. I really do get annoyed with paranormal TV because most of that's crap. Most of it's they're holding the their electronic device in their hand when they're doing it, and I can't remember what the exact name they call it. I think it's called a scrubbing or something. But they're actually rubbing the microphone with their thumb, which is causing noise. And they're going, "Oh, did you hear that?" That's paranormal TV. It's all about ratings. So I don't even pay attention to that crap. I don't even watch TV half the time. I don't have time for it. But there's so many teams out there that they base all their knowledge and all their education off what they've seen on TV. There's actually teams that run out there and buy the exact same equipment they show on Ghost Hunters. Or, it's like, really? You're actually making work for FMP because, they go in and they piss off the spirits or malevolent entities or whatever the case is, which, and I've got clients that have gone through 3 different teams and are in tears by the time they get a hold of us because they don't know where else to turn. So, on one level, paranormal TV is great for exposure of, yes, there is paranormal realms out there. And it's a bane in that it's bringing out every Tom, Dick, and Harry to go form a team when they don't know what they're doing.
Now, did you do this for people when you were in the military? I know you had maybe a little bit of hard time from some people in the military, but did you go out and, because that's what I've experienced. Even when I talk about this stuff, I may get poked at by my family members or friends, but here lately I've had people pull me to the side and ask me for help or questions, and I'm not too comfortable with it, to be honest with you. Did that happen to you in the military?
In the military, not so much, because I was actually at my research level. I didn't really have a team per se, because we didn't actually form. Forest Moon Grove actually formed in 2005 in Iraq. And that was when I led pagan groups. We didn't do so much paranormal as a team because, well, we dealt with paranormal as pagans, if that makes sense. We didn't go to people's houses and things like that. We just took care of our own. Mm-hmm. Forest Moon Paranormal actually formed, I guess, is about 2006. But, again, we didn't have Astral until about 2012. So if I had a case in, say, Australia or Nebraska, I would look for a team that was in Australia or Nebraska and send them in boots on ground. That's how I worked from about 2006 to 2012. And then in 2012, Tony joined the team, and Tony's our Astral lead. And he's been Astral since, I believe, childhood.
It sounds dirty. And he was actually saying Astral a lot. I'm just saying it does. It sounds dirty. But yeah, he's your Astral team coach, right?
He's a team leader.
Okay.
And I mean, he's been traveling since childhood, knows what he's doing. And he was also a soldier that we supported in Forest Moon Grove when he was in the military. So we knew him for a few years before he joined the team. He became the Astral instructor, and taught the team we have today.
Well, why don't you know what you ought to do? And tell me if you can tell me if you've done this, right? These fusion lodges, right, that you told me that you run into. First off, I want you to go check out one of these things astrally. Can you guys do that? Let everybody know what a fusion lodge. It's not a fusion lodge. What is it called? A fusion center?
No, it's a fusion center is actually an intelligence gathering center between the FBI, between local law enforcement, and that's where they hold the information on terrorists. That's high crime bosses, that kind of thing, and they share information. They're supposed to be. But the funding for it is private. It's private funding. It's not government funding, I don't believe. I'd have to go back and there's no way we're going to Astral right now do a fusion center just because I'd have to lock onto one. I'd actually have to find one for them to lock onto.
But technically you could. See, because that's what I want to understand here is if there's all this intelligence and behind-the-scenes conspiracy stuff going on, yet we've got people that can travel in the astral realm and see these things. Why aren't we doing that? Are you doing that?
No, because we deal with about 5 cases a day. We don't have time to do stuff like that.
Oh, man. You got to get a team going, man. We got to get answers. We got to find some answers to some of this stuff.
If we ever start slowing down, which I don't see us slowing down, then we might look into that.
So I'm thinking, is that where what's his name from To the Stars got pulled into? Is one of those intelligence gathering places? You know, he talked about he got pulled into a room and talked to, and I don't know if it's real, but do you think that's where he got talked to at? What's his name? The guy from Blink 182.
Yeah, Tom DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know what to believe with him. I honestly don't. I think he was a patsy. I think he was full of crap from the beginning. I mean, look at all the highfalutin people that he pulled in, and they really didn't say a lot, did they?
No, they just wanted to sell books and T-shirts and teach us through entertainment. You know, that's why I like bringing on guys like you or Uncle Birch or somebody that can really get down and dig into this stuff, because we're not going to get the answers any other way. But with all these people astral traveling around, I've still yet, besides maybe Corey Good and some other secret space people that say they've been to Mars, somebody should have went behind these doors astrally or wherever and figured some of this stuff out. Like go to the center of the NSA or CIA and come back and tell us what they said. You know what I mean?
Well, you got to remember the CIA had their own program called remote viewing. They had their own remote viewers that were doing very similar to Astral, but remote viewing is actually leaving your mind. It's mental projection. They would have, I can't remember, I'm trying to remember, it was a 2-person operation where you had the remote viewer and you had a guide that was with them, and they would be guiding them verbally. Okay, you need to go to this grid coordinate here, and what do you see? And they'd be taking notes of what the remote viewer said. They used the remote viewing program in the 1960s in Vietnam and spying on Russia. And that was part of MKUltra, I believe. So they've been doing something very similar. And now there's no danger with remote viewing. Remote viewing is simple mental projection to grid coordinates. Astral travel, however, is actually leaving your body. And the way we do it, usually I'll get a case, I'll get the address. I will Google map the address so they can get a visual lock on the actual location, and then they'll be there within seconds.
Yeah, so they're still doing this stuff, right? I mean, that's what I was trying to bring up to Greg Doyle when he was on here, because he was talking about his astral travel course. I always asked that because Robert Monroe did, you know, and it seems to just get passed over. Like the government does know about this stuff, and if they can get inside our heads in the astral realm, then what else are they doing? It's not just the corporate logos they're hitting you with. What else are they doing?
Right. Well, and that's subliminal messaging is what the corporate logo stuff you're talking about is subliminal messaging. And they were doing that back in the 60s as well through commercials. You've got to go buy this. You've got to go buy that. And, you know, it's basically thought manipulation.
See, this gets perplexing to me. But, you know, I can't get out of my yard anyway, so whatever, right? Could you guys come down here and help me get out of my yard? I'd like to go to the moon. That's what I want to do. I want to see the dark side of the moon. I want to see if John Lear's right about all the alien beings and stuff up there. Can you send somebody from your team, come down here and yank me out of my body and take me to the moon? Is that possible?
It is.
I got to know who it is first, though, before I give him my address.
Well, it'd be Tony.
All right.
It'd be Tony I'd send for that one.
Well, I'm just fascinated by it. You know, I think it's something cool. And I had an experience again the other night that I will talk to you guys about when we come back. And I'm glad I got Eric Cooper here with me, just so you guys know, and you're very clear about this. I don't know how you're getting lost, but here's how this works. We just had Uncle Birch on for 2 hours. Now Eric Coop's on. Cooper's here with us from Forest Moon Paranormal. If you want to find Uncle Birch's show, he's actually in the Spreaker chat right now. Don't know how long he's going to be there, but he's there right now under Widdershins. So if you click on that, that'll take you to his show. And we'll be right back. Right back after this last break of the night. Don't go anywhere.
Lighting the Void Radio. Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
Lighting the Void is proud to announce Mind and Magic's Protection and Defense Course for protection from magical and psychic attacks. This is not a joke. Magic practitioners are on the rise, and with that comes attacks from baneful or black magicians that try to harm or hurt others for their own selfish reasons. If you are not a believer in psychic attacks, then this isn't for you. If you are, and you want the power to defend yourself and your family and home, then I highly suggest you grab Frater Xavier's Protection and Defense Course. In this course, you will learn how to tell if you are under attack from a natural source or if an individual is attacking you. The 4 forms of curses and attacks. How to remove self-imposed curses. The correct way to cleanse your home from negativity or malevolent entities. How to make your own holy water. What you should always keep near or under your bed. Herbs that banish negativity and promote purity. The most powerful banishing rituals on the planet. And for those that seem to want to harm you the most, how to put your enemies in a hell pit of their own making. You can also learn protection against shadow people and other entities. Or are you just in a bad planetary alignment? Even how to get rid of an enemy using a tic-tac box. It does not matter what your faith or belief is, this will work. Click the banner on the website at lightingthevoid.com or go to lightingthevoid.com/Xavier.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. TalkStreamLive.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM.
Every region of the world and most countries can go back in their history and trace their origins, traditions, and religions to a creator god or an angel from the sky, the stars, heaven, or even underground from the underworld. This is the common story of extraterrestrials seeding our planet. My name is Reverend John M. Polk. I am an international metaphysical minister, a Reiki master teacher, and a medium. My book is Yahweh, the biblical God, is an alien. The premise of my book is that there is a real God and that Yahweh is a creator God alien who is indicating he is ready to reveal his alien origins to humanity at this time.
Want to know what's on The Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. We are live on the Fringe FM. Don't forget, right after the show, another brand new episode of The Secret Teachings from Ryan Gable is going to be on here. If you're listening live, it comes on 5 nights a week at midnight Pacific to 3 a.m. It's a great show. Ryan is one of those analytical guys, and he really breaks things down for you, studies the occult very well. And we just got through talking with Uncle Birch from the Sacred Grove. And all the links are there. They should be there in the show notes right now. If you refresh, they should be there. But it's going to be there, and it's going to be archived for you. And all our archives are free, so if you can, keep everything free as much as possible. Send us a donation, too. And thank you guys for the new donations that you sent. Those donation buttons are right there on both websites. And if you want to call in and ask any questions, that number is 1-800-588-0335. That's toll free from the United States or Canada. I think I got it fixed. We had so many calls last night on the show with Mary. I think I broke the phone, but I think it's fixed now. Pretty sure. But we're here with Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal, who's also a witch. This is something new to me. Like usually it's a ceremonial magician or whatever, but tonight I've gotten to talk to two witches who don't necessarily say they are Wiccans, and so I'm learning there's a difference, I guess, right? There is a difference?
Yeah, very much so. And like you said, like Uncle Birch said, Wicca has a lot of dogma to it. I'm going to say most new folks that find paganism to their liking will find Wicca as their first path, essentially. And like anyone new that comes up and wants to learn about paganism, I always send them to Scott Cunningham's Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner. Not that the name is misleading. It is, you hear Wicca in it and you think, oh, that's just a Wiccan book. No, actually, Wicca is the basics of all magic. Wicca is the basics of most pagan traditions, with the exception, you've got, most of your druids, you're going to find, most of the druids I've encountered, at least, you'll find that they were taught from birth. You will very seldom find a druid that started off Christian, for example, and then turned to druidry. They usually will start at Wicca. And, eventually they'll go along their path for a few years, and all of a sudden something else will just, like a light bulb, and they'll turn to the path they're supposed to be on. They'll start reading books. They'll find someone to teach them, whatnot. And so, yeah, but Wicca is very dogmatic. Everything has got to be done a certain way. It's a very organizational belief system. And really? I'm looking at a question. If I want to try being a Wiccan, where do I start? Like I just said, I would start with Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner. Don't get the big blue book. No.
That's what I was going to ask you. What about the big blue book that everybody talks about?
No. That's not for beginners. Start with, don't get Uncle Bucky. No. Like I said, I think Scott Cunningham did excellent with beginner books. So he's got, it's a two-part. Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner is the first one. Living Wicca is the second one. I agree with Uncle Birch. Cunningham is the best series for beginners, because he also has the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, the Encyclopedia of Crystal Gems and Metal Magic. All excellent books. And you can always go on. You have to be real careful. Use your instinct, your intuition. But if you go on witchvox.com, it's WITCHVOX.com. It's got a directory, a state-by-state, and even an international listing.
Dennis is asking, what's the big blue book that we're referring to? That's a good question.
The big blue book is, oh, God, help me out here. The Encyclopedia of
Complete Book of Witchcraft or something?
Yes, Raymond Buckland. Raymond Buckland is the one they call Uncle Bucky. And again, I agree with Uncle Birch. It is good for self-practice, basically. Huh?
Do-it-yourselfers, right? People that want to do everything themselves, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's fine. But again, I try to switch people over to Cunningham's books. They're broken down, very basic. They're easy to understand, and just I'm more comfortable sending new folks.
Let me ask you about that.
To those books.
There's a tradition that I've kind of learned, and because I've talked to ceremonial magicians, and there's a lot of people that want to do it themselves. But I've experienced this myself in masonry and other things too. It is kind of cool to have somebody there to teach you or tutor you, but then at the same time, you wonder if you're being taught the right thing. So there's a lot of like let's say chaos magicians, for example. I don't know if they really have tutors. In your experience, would it be better to learn these things under somebody that's super, has a lot of experience? And because that's the way I would do it. If it was me, that's just me, though.
Well, again, I would say trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, then go find somebody else. There's, there's plenty of them out there. And again, if they're charging you money, I would walk away, because some of them do. There are some scammers out there as well. I actually found one tradition in Germany that they wanted to charge $300 for their class. And no, you know what? I can do just as well going out and reading a book and practicing on my own.
But isn't there some kind of
$300 for?
I mean, doesn't experience teach you a few things? Like, and I'll just tell you, for example, I had a tutor for a while, and he, taught me about a lot of things that I just didn't see coming. Things that the books wouldn't show me. Kept me from kept me out of a lot of bad things, actually, based on the experience he had in his life. So I can see where there's an advantage to it.
You
don't agree,
again?
Of course.
Huh?
Doesn't seem like you agree.
Well, again, you're be careful of your teacher. You have to be comfortable with your mentor. I prefer the word mentor over teacher. But you're kind of being guided by. Look at their credentials, and if they have any kind of references, I go by references as well. Now, talking about Wicca, I think the better, and I want to hear Uncle Birch's opinion of this one too. I think the most interesting tradition in Wiccan I like is the Correllian, because the Correllians they actually blend Native American with Wicca, which is kind of cool. Because I mean, if you look at the old Native American traditions and rituals and whatnot, they were very pagan oriented. I mean, they follow Mother Earth and Father Sky. They follow but I would never call them pagan. I guess more out of respect because they're their own tradition. But as far as just be careful of your teacher, because there are I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of people out there practicing magic right now. A lot more. Like I told you guys the other day, a friend of mine runs one of the Golden Dawn groups here in the United States, and they were getting like 150 new likes or subscribes or follows every day. I don't know how long that went for, but I know it went for at least a month where just everybody's getting into this magic thing, and it's like that's why I'm trying to pull out all these people that I know that I think have experience in this and have been doing it a while, because I don't want to go dark here, man, but look, if it is dangerous, we already got kids shooting up schools and stuff, man, because their parents, I'm not trying to blame everything on the parents, but you parents do need to raise their kids right, but there's a lot of mentally disturbed people out there is what I'm saying, and it scares people. Mm-hmm. You understand what I mean? Like the Christian community is really scared right now, I can tell you for a fact, because the new like back in the 80s, like Clyde Lewis was talking about, the new Satan scare is coming back around, you see, which I thought that was over with, but now it's coming back.
But I think where you need to be scared too, and I know we don't like talking I'm not going to talk politics, but with their new Religious Liberty Freedom Foundation, I think you need to be really wary of that one as well, because that can go either direction. When you start getting the government trying to tell you how you can practice and that kind of thing, and that's where I see it going. You follow me?
Yeah. Do you think this whole theosophy thing is what a lot of people say are trying to rule the world, because theosophy's in the United Nations, and you see the symbolism in there? But all the books I've read on theosophy were beautiful things. It didn't seem too evil to me, but then that word Luciferian comes up, which I think a lot of people are throwing around right now and don't have a clue what they're talking about. Kind of like
no, because I'm going to tell you the Satanists that I know don't run around doing blood sacrifice, huh?
You do know some Satanists?
Oh yeah. I mean, we have Satanists in FMP.
Okay.
And I don't talk to them often, but I do know enough to know that the true Satanists don't run around doing sacrificing babies and doing everything you see that movies portraying. Most of those are going to be your random occultists that don't know what they're following.
Like an Anton LaVey type. See, when I listen to Anton LaVey, that guy made sense to me. That's what freaked me out about him, because everything that came out of his mouth made total sense. It was super logical, and it freaked me out. I'm like, good God, is Satan really this intelligent?
If you think about it, Anton LaVeyists, that's one branch of Satanism. You got Anton LaVeyists, you've got the ones that actually follow Satan as a deity. Anton LaVeyists more or less preached humanism more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
He essentially preached loving yourself. And if someone did you wrong, then you beat them tenfold. That's what I got out of the LaVeyists that I knew. Now, were they confused? I don't know. I went, I took them at their word as far as they fall in the words of Anton LaVey.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, someone just messaged me a little earlier, and I told you about it during the break, that this person has a grandmother that lives in some country I can't pronounce. It starts with a Z, and they don't know anything about magic. This just came through the text message line, and they want to know, is there anything that they can do to help, to help them out magically?
Again, like I told you, I would say energy work. I'm not the one to ask about healing.
Yeah, it says, sir, here it is. It just came in. Someone who knows zilch about magic. Is there anything I can do to help the love of my life's grandmother, who's very sick in the hospital in Zumadian? That's Zhumadin. I guess there's countries I still... no, there it is. Approximately 400 miles west of Shanghai. They're the most kind, caring, and thoughtful, loving people I've ever met. Salt of the earth. But my wife's grandmother... he wants his wife's grandmother to witness our marriage, and I truly want her recovery to be there as well. I volunteer at an old folks home and have quite a few, ladies from there praying for her grandmother. But her recovery, and my brother and sister and myself are praying for her speedy recovery. But out of all the support from Canada she is receiving that lifted her spirits, I think that's awesome. But is there actually something magically I can do to help? I would cut off a finger, you name it, to help her get healthy again. I will sacrifice whatever. So see, there you go. You got somebody who's willing to sacrifice their own limbs to help this person. And I can't guide them to do that. I'm not going to tell you to do that, but that's what I'm saying. They're desperate. They want answers. And I think that's why a lot of people are getting into magic. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That isn't all for bad reasons.
The best thing you tell them is send them white energy. Just think healing energy is the best thing you can tell them.
Just think healing white energy. So everybody, I guess, send that out to them. That's a sad story. That is. That's truly sad. But I've been there before, where you'll cut off a limb or anything, just whatever, just help this person. I understand. It's a desperate feeling.
Right.
But anyways, thank you for your text. I don't know if you didn't give me your name, so I'm sorry, but I appreciate that. The text line's 501-777-5631. I want to tell you real quick before we get off here. I want to tell you, let me see if I'm being attacked or whatever. So the other night, I'm trying to get out of the body again. I'm trying to do this out-of-body experience thing, like I tell you guys. I catch myself in a dream state, and I'm pretty lucid. In other words, I know I'm in a dream. And just like what happened to me when I was a kid, this Elvira-looking lady comes up to me, pretty much grabs me, pulls me towards her, and I feel I'm going to be honest with you, it's pretty crazy feeling, almost orgasmic, right? And then jerks me away, and then disappears. And I woke up in a sweat. Now, I got to think, that was if it was an attack, I wish you'd do it again. But it kind of felt like I was violated a little bit. Was that an attack, or was that just my mind messing with me again?
Again, I
got to get some answers
to see what's going on.
Yeah, so you're going to send your team out here to this. I need some help.
Well, to see what kind of energy you got in your house.
Protection of light. I don't know. I may want her to do that again. But tell everybody about Forest Moon Paranormal. Like, I want everybody to really check this out. I mean, good God, it's one of the biggest paranormal groups I've ever seen on Facebook. Just give everybody a quick rundown of what you guys do.
All right, so we are an emergency response team for all aspects of the paranormal, whether it's an alien abduction, whether it's a spirit attack, an entity attack. We investigate Bigfoot sightings, things of that nature. Anything paranormal, we're on it. We utilize mediums. We utilize the Astral team. We have two scientists, one of which you know, Eric Markham. We have a licensed therapist for the crisis counseling side of things. We have specialists in every field, whether it's Bigfoot, alien races. We can be found on Facebook. just go look for the Forest Moon Paranormal group and jump into it.
That how you join? Can you join on Facebook if you want to join the group? Is that the way you do that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how you find the group, and that's how you find the team. Everything we do is pretty much on Facebook. That's where people find us if they need help. That's where people find us if they want to join the team. We have a Paracon coming up September 22nd. We have a radio show called S4 here on Spreaker and part of the Fringe FM family. And that's it in a nutshell.
Well, I think that, I don't know. I'll talk to you about this Astral team thing coming down to the house or whatever. But I will say that I didn't really believe in it when I first heard it, right? You guys got Astral people that fight in the Astral realm, and it sounded all Dungeons and Dragons to me at first. Until
it's very real.
A friend of ours that I trust with my life comes to me and says, look, these guys came to my house in the Astral realm, and they told me what was in my closet. The shoes, the shirts, pretty much told me everything that was in the closet. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah, and that was Tony. And he's in Indiana. There's no way he would know the schematic of that guy's house.
Pretty freaky stuff, and it does make me wonder about what the hell else is going on up there.
Yeah.
You know, in the astral realms. What are people doing? And when I say that, I think that there's advanced people out there controlling us. Like, I'm sorry, I know it sounds stupid, and I'm one of these conspiracy guys or whatever, but I'm learning that all this stuff is true. All of this subconscious play with symbolism, the Jungian thing, the corporate logos, the theosophy that's in the United Nations, which I'm not so sure is true theosophy, to be honest with you. And it does make me think that there's something else going on behind the scenes. I mean, I think back in the 80s, they isn't that when they found, I don't know if you remember this, but in the 80s, they raided a couple of houses, the FBI did, for drug reasons, and they started running into all these satanic houses, and people were cut up. I mean, there were pentagrams on the ground, which I'm not saying the pentagram's a bad thing, cups full of blood, and people were all cut up, and I think at that point, everybody just kind of said, look, anybody that's involved with the occult, whatever, it's all evil, and everything went to hell in a handbasket. But then they also started finding out that there were people that were in the FBI, there were people in the government that were involved, and I'll have to drop a link to that too, but that stuff, I would just wonder if it's still going on to this day. You know, I know Alex Jones is screaming a lot, but I'd like to see some real hardcore proof at the top level. And if you got to astral travel to get it, buddy, then do it. You guys would break history if you did it, you know? But it's not on your agenda.
We'll see what we can do.
Who would you report that to, by the way, if you did find something?
You know what? I have no idea. We'd report it to you.
There you go. Because you ain't going to tell the police, right? You could tell me, you probably could tell Uncle Birch, but you go tell the police, say, look, I went to sleep, I astral traveled to this place, and they're doing rituals and stuff and hurting people, and I want you, they'd lock you up, man. Wouldn't they? They'd put you in a padded
Well, they would just to shut you up.
But anyways, man, this has been fun. I've had a fun night. Thank you for joining the third hour, Eric, from Forest Moon Paranormal. By the way, I do got to plug your show, S4, which is a show you guys talk about a lot of stuff on there. It comes on at midnight Pacific. Is that right? I should know this. I'm the owner of the network. Midnight
Pacific every Saturday.
Every Saturday night. Make sure you guys check out Uncle Birch's store, his schools, the links. Go check him out. He actually dropped in the chat room and hung out with us for a little while. You can click on that name and go to his show. Tomorrow night, we're going to get back into the UFO subject with Angel Espino. And then Monday night, Labor Day weekend, we're going to do a special Bigfoot anniversary with a Bigfoot story that's going to blow your mind. One like you've never heard, or at least I've never heard. And we're just going to continue this thing. Thanks a lot, Eric. I appreciate it, man.
Excellent. And we'll
Outstanding.
talk to you later.
All right, guys, this show was produced by the Fringe FM and cannot be rebroadcasted or syndicated without written permission. And music was by Chronox, Bundy, Kevin MacLeod, and Space Station. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Good night.